an application to the Central Applications Office, it means that they've indicated that they wish to come to university this September. So if you're applying to any of the higher education institutions in Ireland to come into first year, you have to apply to the CAO. The system allows for late applications until the 5th of May. And then from the 5th of May until the 1st of July, the people that are in that system, and in total in Ireland, there are 77,000 this year in 2024. And those people get to change their mind. So it means that they get to cancel choices maybe that were at the top of their list. But what they do today by 5 o'clock supersedes everything they've done before.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is the final decision
This is
time.
it. So it's final decision time. So in the system, you get to make 10 level 8 choices and you get to make 10 level 6, 7 choices. So your technological universities have the 6, 7 program options as well as your level 8s. So in terms of people making their applications today, it's a good day for maybe parents who maybe haven't been maybe keeping an eye to see has your young person made the applications that they wanted, you know, their preferences that they needed. And it's a good day to just kind of take a wee moment, look at that application process and see, do they have in their application what they want to do in September.
So if any vacancies in any courses become available after today, right, is that or is there another stage that happens down the line?
So there is only one other window now after today. So today it closes at 5 o'clock, so whoever's in the system's in the system. But on the 29th of August, which is the day after the first round of round 1 offers, available places opens. Mm-hmm. So if you've never made an application, which we find a lot of people actually use this last year in ATU, 143 people across our 9 campuses contacted us to apply to available places. So it's those programs that don't fully subscribe. Mm-hmm. Now, high demand, high point programs will fully subscribe. They never make that list. They'll never come onto available places. So if you're thinking about veterinary nursing, teaching, home economics, if you're thinking about any of those high demand programs we have in our university, and it's the same in UCD or DCU, then today is the day. But available places is the last window of opportunity, and it opens on the 29th of August, and it's €45 to do that. So if you've never made an application, that's your window.
So, pardon my ignorance here. At this time, really, then people have people applied for courses yet that they have the points for?
So points don't come out now until after the Leaving Cert results.
Right. So these are their preferences on the hope that they get the courses, and then offers would come out.
Yes, exactly.
Guess who didn't go to college?
Well, do you know, the system has actually been the same system for about 25, 30 years.
25 years ago.
Yeah, and it was paper-based.
Okay, I get you. So in other words, you've had time to reflect now. If you put one thing above the other or didn't include one thing, now's the time to sit down, take a couple hours and say, right, we're getting down to...
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. Okay. Are we seeing any trends in courses that are appealing to people?
Yeah, so what we're seeing this year in terms of our own system at ATU is we're seeing the continued rise in the areas of like business, engineering, law, sciences, your broad program areas. A lot of people are going down the route of common entry, really, really popular because...
What does that mean?
Common entry means like you might know that you're interested in business, but you're not quite sure if it's marketing, management or accounting yet. A common entry degree lets you dip your toe in the water first year of all of those areas.
Oh, right.
It's the same in science. You might think, well, maybe it's pharmaceutical, medicinal, it could be forensics, or maybe it's biological sciences, but you get to dip your toe in year 1. So it's great for, say, for instance, students, the broad back of students doing the Leaving Cert, know that you're interested in maybe business or science or engineering, but don't quite know what area yet. And it allows them to kind of test the water. And it's very, very good in terms of support and retention and making sure the students are progressing.
And would that be seen sort of like as an extra year, an additional year at the start? Or if you then decide, right, I want to be specific on that, you can just concentrate on that for the remainder of the course?
Yeah, so what happens is not additional. It's just like a first year common program. And then in year 2, you'd specialise. So if it's a 4-year program, still going to be 4 years. But in the first year, you're going to be doing those common modules and then you dip in. And you might say to yourself, well, gosh, I love marketing. And I've really, really figured that out because I did digital marketing as one of the modules. But I'm not a huge fan of finance or accounts, so I'm not going to go down that route. But you'll figure that out in first year because that's what tends to happen. People have maybe perceptions about programs as well.
For sure.
I want to be a nurse, and then the reality of nursing maybe hits them. But I suppose it's really about common entry has become really popular, not just at ATU, across all the universities in Ireland.
But it makes sense too because there's a huge financial and time commitment.
Yeah.
So, you really don't want to be at a course and then you kind of don't want to upset anyone around you, and you continue at it, but you're not really excelling because you're not interested.
Yeah.
You know, it's like work. You never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
In the college. Obviously, there's different pathways nowadays where people can get to where they want to be. A lot of focus on apprenticeships or what have you. But even within sort of the third level sector, are we seeing sort of it developing or any changes happening to assist people who might need to do things slightly different to what would be seen as the main?
I honestly think at this moment in time, you've never had as many options, choices and supports to be who you want to be. There is a new agenda and very much supported by the government around tertiary education as well. HEU is partners with Galway Roscommon ETB, Sligo, Mayo, Leitrim ETB, as well as Donegal ETB in the space of tertiary education. And what tertiary education lets you do is it lets you go to your local ETB centre for 1 year in specific areas. So we're looking at nursing, business, sustainable engineering technologies and laboratory sciences. So 4 discipline areas. You do your 1 year there and then you go then and progress to your HU campus of choice. So tertiary education is an option. Our Access programme as well, Greg, continues to thrive. So Access has been transformative for people, particularly for mature students, somebody who's been out of education for a while, who maybe thought, well, God, I'll never be able to do that. I know so many people myself personally who would be friends of mine who maybe would have not progressed to university way back when and have dipped their toe in Access. It gave them the confidence for a year. It's a preparatory course. It's recruiting for our Sligo, our Mayo and our Donegal campuses for the September. So you can apply right the way up to the end of August.
How do you do that? That's outside of the CEO system,
outside of the CEO system as well. And again, it's just going on to our website, hu.ie/access. And you get to see like what you would do. So you do like a module in learning through numbers. You might be saying, well, I couldn't do maths if I went back to education, or I couldn't even write an assignment. We do communications, we do learning skills. We also then allow you to dip your toe in a couple of areas. So you might say to yourself, well, I think I might be interested in, say, design, but maybe actually I wouldn't mind giving some of the health science areas a go, but you get to try them as well. And it's a 1 year free course as well. So you have tertiary education, as you mentioned, apprenticeships are booming, they're growing. And again, we're in through that space. And then you also have Access, that confidence builder. It allows you to dip your toe and then you direct entry into us at HU.
I think it's very important that we don't sort of be our own worst enemies and hold ourselves back. Because there's an option there to say, well, go and see if it's for you. Let's see if you can fulfill the potential that you know that's there.
Big time. I came from a household where my mother returned to education and studied nursing when I was doing my junior certificate. So I've seen the power of education in terms of my own home life, but also somebody who returned to education. So it's transformative in terms of the things it can do for you.
Right. So I think really what this conversation about, Fiona, is obviously it's a nice broad conversation, but is maybe for mums or dads or guardians to caregivers to sort of check with their young people. Say, look, you've got up until 5. Do you want to have a quick look at the CEO change of mind situation? See if anything's changed over the last wee while. So that's a good time.
Now is a good time. And what will happen
now
is...
the only time.
Now is the only time. It's right until 5 o'clock. And it's free of charge as well to go in and change as well. So that's really, really important. Now remember, preferences are really important here.
Talk to me about that then.
Yeah. So your number one is the dream course. Now a lot of people get fixated on points and thinking, well, I'm never going to get 420 points that I need for that dream course. Put it in there anyway. If your dream course is 420, you don't know for sure if that programme will come down in points. It may go up, but you can't be sure. But you can't go back up the system if you don't have it at the top.
Right.
So say, for instance...
So regardless of what you think you might achieve, you put your courses in order of your preference.
Dream courses are number one.
And then let's roll the dice after that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And don't assume that you're not going to get what you need. So just make sure that, the dream course, the dream holiday type thing, that you have it as number one. And don't discount yourself because you never know what way the system's going to roll.
What would happen if I thought, right, I'll stick it in at number 3.
Yeah.
Right, but then I achieved the point score for 1 and 2. Does that mean I can't do 3?
Yeah. It's gone. Unless that programme doesn't fully subscribe, and for instance, it becomes available in available places, you have no option.
Really, really important.
Really important.
Then,
so preference is key here today. So really, when you're looking at that young
go back in and check the order at the very least. Yeah.
And what happens with the CAO too is they'll send you a record or a statement as well after you've made any changes. So you can very much see. So you can even ask your young person today, can I see your statement, your CAO statement at the minute? And they can log in. They can show you their 1 to 10 list and their level 8 choices. And then they're 1 to 10, level 6, 7. And the level 6, 7 list is really important too, because the entry requirements are lower generally than the level 8 courses. So what I would say to people is maybe if you're looking at, say for instance, you're looking at early childhood care, health and education, for example, a 4-year programme, there's also a 2-year option. The points are lower, the entry requirements are lower. But after the 2 years, you can do another plus 2 years and have your 4-year degree. It's 2 plus 2. So make sure that you've really navigated the system in a way that's going to benefit you too. So if there's a programme that's a 6 and a 7 from wherever you're planning to go to, make sure you have it in your list. Yeah. And don't discount yourself in the system.
Oh, brilliant. Anything else, Fiona, I've missed that we should add?
No, I suppose if anybody's looking for support today, contact us. It's cao@hu.ie. Really, it's about tuning in, making sure that you take today until 5 o'clock.
It's kind of potentially a really important day.
Yeah, it is. Very much so. Leaving Cert's over now. You know, mature students, PLC, FET applicants, anybody that's in the mix, today's the day.
All right, Fiona, listen, brilliant stuff. Thanks for making that so clear. That's Fiona Kelly, ATU Marketing and Student Recruitment Manager.
The 9 Til Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Imagine a dream wedding on a lake. All-day casual dining by a magical shore. Fine dining or glorious afternoon tea surrounded by beautiful mountains. Or a fabulous bar filled with music, laughter and song. Imagine no more. Harvey's Point, Loch Esk, Donegal, 07497222208 or harveyspoint.com. Close by, but a different world.
Eurodreams is the new game from the National Lottery, where you could win €20,000 a month for the next 30 years. That's €20,000 every month for 30 years. Draws take place every Monday and Thursday, so pick up a Eurodreams ticket for your chance to win.
Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
Okay.
The 9 Til Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
All right, everybody gather round. Alex, welcome to the office. Now, why don't you tell everyone a fun fact about yourself? Maybe 2 or 3. You know what? Keep them coming. I'll tell you when to stop.
Changing jobs can be scary. Changing health insurance doesn't have to be. If you're worried about waiting periods or loss of coverage, we're here to help. Get the information you need on hia.ie. There's only one authority on health insurance, and it's us. The Health Insurance Authority.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Best staycation ever. 4 best mates, 60 minutes from home. 10 thrilling zip lines, 8 breathtaking views, 4 coffees to catch a breath, 1,000 metres into a wondrous cave, 3 echo, 1 incredible day. Plan your best staycation ever at discoverireland.ie and experience the feeling of a holiday all in one day. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Okay, I'll bring you the weather forecast. That one ad ran into the other there for some reason. Mostly cloudy at first today, Monday, with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, along with patchy mist and fog, which will clear eastwards this afternoon with a mix of cloud and brighter sunny intervals following. Temperatures 14 to 17 degrees. And unseasonable weather, and it's going to get actually really quite windy on Wednesday and Thursday up at this part, and no real sign of a dissipation in the rain. Greg, the official attendance released by Croke Park yesterday was 46,000. Croke Park holds 82,000. That comes in from Noel. Thanks for the follow-up. It looked more than that, but I think I was kind of referencing Saturday. But anyway, you would have thought there was more demand for tickets than that, wouldn't you? Hi Greg, concerning the first round of French election results, the Dublin elites are just as much out of touch as are the Paris elites. As the far right folks have correctly pointed out, the Dublin elites are little more than an EU puppet regime. It does not say very much for democracy in Ireland, where EU pay packets and future EU jobs are all the Dublin elites really care about, and look down the noses at the rest of us. Right, okay. Almost 24,000 cars failed the NCT test across the Northwest in the first 6 months of 2024. The statistics were made available on the official NCT website. In total, 44,500 tests were carried out in Sligo, Carrick and Shannon, Donegal Town and Letterkenny centres from January to June. Letterkenny was found to have the highest pass rate at 48.15% in total. That was followed by Donegal Town, 45.48%. Shane O'Donoghue, editor of CompleteCar.ie, is back with us again. Good to see you, Shane. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Hi, Greg. How are you doing?
Good. I find these statistics really quite interesting to look at, but really beyond that, can we read anything into it? Road conditions, public attitude? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's nothing new in it. Really, because the pass rate seems to be a pretty stable thing. And it does vary between centres, bizarrely, across the country. And it kind of shows that there are consistently a lot of people bringing the car for the NCT when it isn't ready for it, or also, more to the point, it isn't quite as roadworthy as it should be. Because, you know, the NCT is there for a reason, to check the roadworthiness of our cars, and it's for safety. That's a big thing. But the point is that every driver, every car owner is responsible for that all year round, not just to go get a box ticked and get a shiny new NCT cert. So I do wonder if we need to change something about it, or maybe just the messaging around it, that you don't bring your car to the NCT, check what needs to be done, and then sort it. You should have the car sorted all year round.
Yeah, but I mean, what they do in Northern Ireland, and I presume in Britain, is your local garage can NCT the car as well, can't they, in some cases? So, they theoretically say, well, you have a look over the car and do the test on it. We sort of accept this extra levy of the retest, so that we don't throw good money after bad. It's a false economy, I think, really, or a distrust of workshops.
Yeah, I think your last few words there is perhaps picking up on perhaps how the government or how the authorities view it, where there's huge expense put into setting up these centres around the country, and into the hands of this company AP Plus. Whereas in the UK, as you say, they have a different system, the MOT system, and it's done a lot more, not by every garage, but by a lot of regular garages, and it's quicker, it's more efficient, and we definitely could have done with that in the last couple of years when we had massive delays at the NCT system, and it's probably more efficient overall. I doubt very much it adds to road safety. I'm not saying it takes from it either, but it definitely wouldn't be a better system than the NCT in terms of road safety. But I don't know what we can do about that. Is the messaging just to encourage people to keep their cars safe anyway?
And it is about safety, really. And I think sometimes we overlook that. Not you and I, but us generally. Letterkenny saw the highest amount of dangerous failures, 1,809. So that's a lot of cars before they went in for their test, and perhaps driven off after their test, really, that would have what are classed as dangerous failures. I mean, that is something we all should sort of take note on.
Yeah, that is it. Those that's the number that's most important here, the dangerous failures. The failures, NCT failures, there's lots of little tiny fiddly things that can fail it that aren't dangerous. Your number plate mightn't be aligned properly, or the seatbelt, the tester couldn't get at the seatbelts properly, something like that, little things. But the dangerous ones are the things we should be focusing on here. And people driving around with bald tires or badly aligned headlights or bits of bodywork sticking out, and there's loads of other dangerous failure.
Suspension and shocks not functioning. I mean, you corner with a couple of bad shocks, the back of the car will bounce and you lose it too. I would be really interested to dig a little further, and I wonder how many of these are modifications that were deemed dangerous and were listed as dangerous failures. But we can't just, I think really, we can't just sit back and look at these figures every year. You would hope that someone is digging down into these, in a higher position, say, what can we do to reform or improve or what have you. Shane, you don't look like you feel that's happening.
No, I don't, unfortunately. I really think the RSA or equivalent organizations should have full access to the data. And it can be normalized so it's no GDPR issues, which is the excuse that'll probably be pulled out. Get the data on what actually failed, what types of cars, the age, model, everything, as much detail as possible without, applying it to a person or a registration number, and see what is causing it. Why are so many cars? Why have they got dangerous fails? And attack that.
Yeah, and also see is there any correlation between this information and road traffic collisions? Not just fatal collisions either, serious injuries. You know what I mean? Then you're sort of starting to. There's many different reasons. We've talked about this before, and contributing factors to a collision. It's not always the driver and the speed and the seatbelt. You know what I mean? It can be car condition and it can be road conditions as well. All right, Shane, as always, listen, thank you very much for your insights. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourself. That is Shane O'Donoghue, editor of CompleteCar.ie. A caller quite rightly points out here, Letterkenny saw the highest amount of dangerous failures. It says a lot about the amount of cars on our roads which are dangerous, they say. Could it be a reason Donegal has so many collisions? It certainly could, but if we're not exploring that or looking into that, it's a piece of information we may never know. Hi, Greg. Helen McEntee going to ban face covering masks at protests. Would I be allowed to wear my burqa at a protest instead? I see where you're coming from. Ironically, a lot of the protests that happened a few years ago were about not wearing masks, and now we're bringing in rules to stop people wearing masks. A carer's allowance. A caller says there are over 5,000 people in Donegal getting the carer's allowance in Donegal. That's according to a recent survey. Another point is that in comparison to the rate of pay in the UK, ours is much better. So we're not doing too badly overall, but we're on about the unpaid carers, 10,000 plus of those. And you know the stories there. I know the people that have given up, some of the best years of their life to care for someone and out of the workforce and all that kind of stuff. Here we go again. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have overseen the poor weak in consistent legal systems we have for many years, yet they complain about it. Time for change, methinks. Also, hi Greg, look back on every photo you took in Highland Radio. You have your hands in your pockets. It's very bad looking. I'm sorry. I've never noticed. I'm going to go and look back at pictures now. Apparently I have hands in my pockets. Is it bad looking? Anyway, 086 60 25,000, generally speaking, is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. That's hour one of the 9 Til Noon Show. We'll be back, of course, with the rest of the programme after we take a break now for the news and obituary notices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Gardaí are currently at the scene of a crash at the Polestar roundabout in Letterkenny. The collision involving a lorry and a car occurred at around 9 a.m. The road remains open at this time, but motorists are advised to expect delays. No further details are known at this time. It's hoped a path to a resolution can be found as unions and management at Aer Lingus meet with the Labour Court later today. Nearly 400 flights have been cancelled by the airline as IALPA engages in a work to rule in a pay row. There were fears that industrial action could be escalated. However, IALPA's parent union Forsa accepted the invite to this afternoon's meeting with the Labour Court. Aviation journalist Owen Corey says an 8-hour stoppage, which took place on Saturday, was a test for the capabilities of Aer Lingus.
What we saw over the weekend was a little bit of, again, squaring up, looking at what the opposition are capable of. Aer Lingus proved on Saturday morning they're capable of flying through a one-day strike with not a lot of disruption, not great if you're one of the passengers whose flight has been cancelled, but they protected their transatlantics.
Meanwhile, a South Donegal deputy is calling on the airline and IALPA to resolve the ongoing pay dispute. Sinn Féin Transport spokesperson Deputy Martin Kenny says it's essential the row is resolved.
I think, it's also vital, of course, that we have good industrial relations and that both sides come to the table with a sense of generosity and a spirit of trying to resolve this issue. And that needs to happen today, hopefully, or certainly before the end of the week, because we can't have this situation. It's like a dark cloud hanging over the whole country.
It was a busy weekend for Ornelai crews in Donegal. Lochs Willie Ornelai came to the aid of 2 anglers after their boat was hit by a freak wave off Carribla on Saturday evening. Meanwhile, Armor Ornelai were tasked to assist in a medical evacuation yesterday. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
The volunteer crew of Arranmore RNLI were tasked by the Mallinhead Coast Guard at 8 o'clock yesterday morning to assist in a medical evacuation from Arranmore Island. The first volunteer responders of the Arranmore ambulance delivered the patient to Labgarrow Pier, and the patient was then transferred to the lifeboat. Upon arrival at Burton Port, the patient was moved to a waiting ambulance and then onto Letterkenny University Hospital for assessment. Sean Curtin from Valentia Island is a regional resilience coxswain and mechanic with the RNLI and is involved in travelling to various RNLI stations to fill in for local crews who are on leave. Sunday was his 4th time with the Arranmore RNLI, and he has commended the team for their efficiency and knowledge of the area.
Free contraception should be made available to all women regardless of their ability to pay. The call comes after the Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly, announced the rollout of free contraceptives for women in the 32 to 35 age group. It means all women aged from 17 to 35 are now covered under the scheme. Dr. Iona Duffy says cost should not be a barrier for women who want to avail of contraception.
We've already seen from the data that there has been a rise in terminations of pregnancy, and which can be a very traumatic and emotional and difficult time for women. So we want to allow that to be prevented and ensure that those who don't want to get pregnant don't get pregnant, and we can't have cost as a barrier, which, as we know to date, it has been for many women. And that's women, not just young women, but older women as well.
A man has been arrested in Derry following the seizure of a quantity of drugs yesterday afternoon. At around 4:10, police responded to a report of a male acting suspiciously on Shipquay Street. The 22-year-old was subsequently arrested on suspicion of possession with intent to supply a Class C controlled drug. He remains in police custody at this time. An urgent appeal for blood donations is being made, with some blood groups at under 3 days of stock. The Irish Blood Transfusion Service needs to boost supply by nearly 500 donations per week to meet demand. Current levels, including O negative and B negative, are at just 2 days supply, with O positive at just under 3 days. IBTS Director of Donor Services Paul McKinney says people of African heritage are being asked to contribute blood.
We're particularly asking for donors of African heritage to join the National Blood Panel. We need to diversify the donor base in Ireland, and really that is to ensure that we get a better blood type match for patients.
Weather now, outbreaks of rain and drizzle will clear this afternoon with a mix of cloud and bright or sunny intervals developing. Highest temperatures today of 14 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website highlandradio.com. Good morning.
The obituary notices this Monday morning, July 1st. The death has occurred of Charles Kerr, 19 St John's Park, Buncrana, formerly of Letcher Uris Clonmany. His remains are reposing at his home. Removal from there today at 3:30. Going to St Michael's Church Erris to arrive at 4:30 to repose overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Michael's Church Erris, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Billy Forbes, 43, Millhaven, Sion Mills, and formerly of Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow at 9:25 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane, at 10 o'clock. Cremation afterwards in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Hope House Ireland. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Anne Dunnigan, 48, McNeely Villas, Letterkenny. Anne's remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there on Tuesday morning for Requiem Mass at St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny at 11 a.m, followed by interment in Leck Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Philip McDermott, Drumley, Glenealy. Philip's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there at 10:20 on Wednesday for 11 o'clock funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Bocken, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on kildaffparish.com. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. The death has occurred of Bernard Barney Carr, Cabinteely, Dunleary, County Dublin, and formerly of Ballinacrec Fanad. Mass is ongoing at St Bridget's Church, Cabinteely. Barney's remains will then travel to Shanna Fanad, where they will repose from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. today. Rosary is at 9 o'clock. Removal from there tomorrow at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Fanavolti, Fanad for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass with burial at the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the McAteer Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Bernie Bernadette McNellis, 7 Ashfield, Letterkenny, and formerly Lochrose Point, Ardra. Funeral Mass at 11 o'clock this morning in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, with cremation at 3 o'clock in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Mass can be viewed live on steunanscathedral.ie. Family time, please, this morning, and no flowers at the request of the deceased. Donations, if desired, to the Oncology Ward in Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Con McDade, funeral directors. The death has occurred of David Gillespie, Middletown, Sledrin, Buncrana. Funeral going from his home to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Bridie Doherty, Rock 12, Church, Brayfawn. Removal from her late residence this morning at 10:15 to St Maurice Church, Fawn for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. Go all Aldi with summer barbecue sizzlers, now only $2.99 each, including specially selected Black Angus reduced fat 6-ounce burgers was $3.79, now only $2.99. Plus, specially selected Black Angus Ultimate 6-ounce beef burgers, Butcher Selection quick cooked chicken fillets, and Butcher Selection pork belly strips worth $3.49 each, now only $2.99 each. All Board Bia quality assured. Go all Aldi while stocks last.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Yeah, so I just had a presumption. I don't know. I never even thought about it that Croke Park was going to be pretty wedged for both Saturday and Sunday. As I say, I never really gave it any consideration. I watched it on TV and the crowd looked good at times, and there were gaps, of course. Anyway, but sure, listen, it's interesting. Only 46,000 at the two matches yesterday, Greg. Nowhere near sold out. Definitely too expensive. Yeah, definitely indeed. They only managed 60,000 on Saturday, 60,000 plus 46 then on the Sunday. That was for 4 games. And Croke Park, I was just reading there during the news, Croke Park has been semi-deserted for all 4 Dublin Championship matches played there. The total crowd for the 4 games featuring Dublin, 77,000, which is less than the 82,300 capacity. So there's something wrong in terms of pricing or what have you. Maybe all the talk of Dublin is going to be ground to a standstill with everything going on, discourage people from going down. I don't know. Or maybe there simply just isn't the interest and people prefer to watch it at home or maybe in the local pub. I think the attendance at Croke Park was around 49,000 on Saturday, 47,500 on Sunday. I believe the stadium holds around 82,000. You're in and around it there, yes indeed. Greg, I'm on my way to get my van's NCT test. It is a Volkswagen Caddy, smaller than most cars now. I have to get a commercial NCT for the van. It costs €117 plus €47 if a retest is required. It's a rip-off for a small vehicle. Sounds about right. Greg, done my weekly shop in Aldi last week. Got my token for taking back my bottles. Went to Aldi Ramelton Road this week. Done my shop. Give them my return ticket to be told, no, you have to use them in the Aldi store you got the token from. Madness, that is. I'm really surprised at Aldi because the bottles were returned in an Aldi and another Aldi wouldn't take that token. That seems to be a major flaw in that system. You can understand maybe, maybe they might want to sort of keep it within the brand, so that, in other words, you couldn't take Aldi to Dunn's. But that you can't take one Aldi voucher from one place to another Aldi, it doesn't make any sense, that at all. But that's a person's lived experience. Just on the NCT too, though, it does seem a little bit random in that we had a car in the family that went to get its NCT done. It failed on one thing. And then it wasn't driven at all because it was off the road, so to speak. And then went back and it failed another thing that wasn't the original thing, and then went back and it failed a third thing, and eventually just got it over the line on the 4th test. So it can be a little bit random. Sometimes maybe it's about who's testing the vehicle as much as where it's tested. I don't know. Also, the controversy erupted just before the 10 o'clock news when a listener claimed that I have my hands in my pockets. In pictures that are put up on Highland Radio, and it looks bad. I concede it looks bad. We take a lot of pictures here. So Shannon went through the pictures, and I think going back to, I didn't ask her to do this, by the way, but over the last 3 or 4 months, I had my hands in my pockets. How many times? 4 times? 3 or 4. But I admit I looked an idiot in those pictures. So noted, but it's not all of the pictures. All right. 086 60 25,000 is your WhatsApp and text number. You can give us a call on 07491 25,000. No contributory pension stamp for full-time carers. Why not? No problem with parachute payments for councillors, TDs and senators. 20 years to maybe qualify for a pension, says a listener there. Ursula von der Leyen works for the global elites, is pro-Israel and a fascist, just like her friend Zelensky. People need to start paying attention to what is happening around the world. People do, it's not just a small group of people that are awake, so to speak. Lots and lots of people consume lots of media. They go on to say, though, that the US, the military-industrial complex, and NATO are responsible for most, if not all, the current wars and control the West's media narrative. It is unbelievable how most people either don't care or don't know the reality which suits governments. If anyone is interested in a different point of view, eminent independent people such as Professor Sachs and others will give you a thorough rundown of facts, which are facts, though, that appeal to that particular listener. That's the problem in this day and age now, in that everyone kind of has the person they go to for the facts. And I just wonder if Professor Sachs is kind of balanced in his point of view, or is he just using his platform to push what he has to say? And then people might say the mainstream are doing the same on the other side, and never the twain shall meet. But listen, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate your text, which I have read all. Anyone interested in journalism, they say, would do well to read up on him. Thankfully, now a free man. Okay, thanks very much indeed. Why are they not looking after the people of our own country, says the listener? So many looking for a roof over their heads, and they're housing people coming into this country first. That's not in my book. That's not on in my book. This government should be ashamed of themselves. They couldn't run a hen house, says Ewan there. All right, appreciate all your contributions. It's just that view was not really reflected in the local elections, it has to be said. Right, we're going to talk more about this report, which shows a worryingly high level of malnutrition in people who are being admitted to hospital. What does it all mean? We'll find out after these.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, July 1st. Playing on a green sheet. Reference number is S11. It's week 27. Today's numbers are 39, 38, 11, 62, 49, 77, 1, 55, 36 and 6. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. And we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
The 9 Til Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
So, as we mentioned on the show earlier, more than 1 in 3 patients, including older groups and people with cancer, are malnourished on admission to hospital, and levels are rising. This information was reported in a new survey. Niamh Rice is the report's co-author and the Irish Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism Director. Thank you so much for joining us, Niamh. I do appreciate your time today.
Not at all. Delighted to have the opportunity to share what's an important survey, actually. It's the first we've done, the largest ever nationally, and we haven't done one for over 10 years. So really interesting to see how things have changed.
And it's a real picture across the country, isn't it? Many patients surveyed, 26 public hospitals in Ireland included.
Yeah, that's an unusually large survey. We couldn't believe we got such a great response. We had 3,600 patients, data from all of those patients, and it was a representative sample. Now, you know, the last survey, we were delighted to get 1,600. And 11,000, so or rather 1,000. So this is a really big survey, which represents about 1/3 of all of the adult inpatients on a given day in a hospital, minus the maternity patients, which weren't, you know, the relevant group. So yeah, we know that this is robust, and it found that the malnutrition rates are higher. And as I said, at least we know why. It's because people are older, and the surprising part was that we had so much cancer. It's probably not surprising to people working in the healthcare system, but I think the uplift was from 16% of the population in the hospitals last time, it was 22%. That's 1 in 5 patients had a cancer diagnosis. Now, it doesn't mean that they came into hospital for cancer. It wasn't their primary diagnosis. It was just they're distributed around the hospital.
So is that really something in this highlighted in this report that perhaps needs looking at separately almost? And we'll talk about it more generally, but just the very high and much higher incidence of people with cancer in the public hospitals.
Well, you know, it's not just in the public hospitals. I don't know whether you heard the report last year, but, you know, is that Ireland has the second highest cancer incidence in Europe after Denmark. But the good news is that we have better survival rates than average. So that means there's just more cancer patients about. And that's kind of good news in a way, because at least they're living longer. They're living with it. But when it comes to nutrition, they have complex nutrition problems. So it wasn't surprising to find that the people with cancer diagnosis, there were 44% of them had a high risk rate of malnutrition versus 30% in all the rest of the population, irrespective of age. And the same thing happens with age. When you just look at the age, the older patients over 65 versus younger patients, they had a 36% rate of malnutrition versus the 30%. So that's skewing it.
Just in relation to that, Niamh, you know, everyone listening, perhaps when they hear the word malnutrition, might have an image or their own understanding of what that actually means. But sort of in this, clinical setting, how is someone classed as being malnourished?
Yeah, great question, because I think we cause a lot of confusion. I don't like the word myself because everybody immediately thinks thinness, extreme starvation. And what we're talking about is disease-related malnutrition. And that means that essentially, it's a really simple concept. If you're sick, you tend to go off your food, but you also have higher requirements for certain nutrients like protein. So if you combine the effect of needing more nutrients at a time when you're eating less, the gap is wide. And over a very short period of time, your body doesn't function as well as it should do. So it means you go into a hospital in a malnourished or poorly nourished state.
So if someone went into hospital and it was deemed they needed, say, an iron transfusion, would that be classed as
No,
malnourished?
not really. Well, we don't. Screening for malnutrition is really about whether you've had. A lot of them will have had a lot of weight loss beforehand. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, they might need an iron transfusion for another reason. Yes, but we're talking about people who are failing to be able to eat enough to provide what their body needs to function, like to manage an immune response. And the first thing that happens when you're not eating, even within 74 hours of semi-starvation, when you're ill and you've got an inflammatory condition, it means your immune function isn't as good. So you're much more likely to get infections or not to be able to deal with them as well. You don't heal your wounds as well. You've longer recovery time. Just because, and it doesn't matter. As I said, even if you're overweight, if you've lost weight and you're losing weight unintentionally in that period before you come into hospital, and you're not able to eat enough to keep it going, your body has to break down its muscles in order to kind of keep everything going. And it doesn't do it as well as you would in your health.
So it seems to be, looking at these figures, that the problem area, and lots of areas are caught in this, where people might be, long-term care, rehabilitation, etc. Other hospitals, move between hospitals. It seems to be at home where the malnutrition is happening, so to speak.
Yeah, it's always in the community. I mean, it starts in the community. So we're, anybody listening and they hear hospitals, they often think, oh, the food is terrible, etc. So that's not what we're looking at how they are when they walk into the hospital, essentially. And most of what we really found, I'm glad you reminded me, Greg, because the interesting thing we found, which was really surprising, was that the patients who'd been in the long stay wards, the long stay patients had the lowest rates of malnutrition, but the highest rates of using nutrition support. Mm-hmm. So it had been picked up. They were getting the nutrition support they needed, so they weren't in a malnourished state. So that's brilliant, because every clinical, if you look at the papers and the research, you would find the opposite happens. The longer you're in hospital, normally, the worse your nutritional status is. But in this case, we found they were lower. And patients who come in from other hospitals, they were actually, again, it was lower than the hospitals that came from home. So, we know there's two things that we need to do. First of all, we need to get to the older patients who are in the vulnerable situations in home care. We know who they are. There's about 56,000 patients or people at home living, and they're receiving home support services. And they're the vulnerable elderly that we're trying to keep in their own home. They're not in nursing homes yet, where they do get screened and treated. So I think we need to integrate nutrition screening into those patients' care, into their care package. And that's something we've called for a few years. Now, it's not practically probably going to be as straightforward or easy, but we absolutely need to do it.
That I can understand what you're saying, and obviously you're the expert in this area, so correct me where I'm wrong. Yeah. That would just identify more people in a different setting who are malnourished. Maybe it's for other people, but we need to be preventing people becoming malnourished in the first place. So what could we do you think, off the back of these findings, to try and bring the numbers down?
Well, just Yeah, you're making all the right points, and thank you because people like me, we're so used to talking about it, we forget the obvious. We can't necessarily stop people having problems with nutrition. So we say they're at risk of malnutrition because they start losing weight. So we see the signs early. It's about picking them up at that point when they start falling down the curve. So, at that point, if we were screening them in their own home and we see that they're failing a little bit, we'd be able to institute nutrition support then and maybe get them to a dietitian so that we can try and modify their diet, maybe give them supplementation, oral supplements. And so on. So it's
I'm
about
just
catching them early.
Yeah,
it's not
Niamh,
necessarily about complete prevention.
No,
because
of course
someone
not.
who's sick becomes ill.
But just say, for instance, in relation to cancer patients, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, I'm just saying my experience here. As you'd imagine, I've been doing this show for quite some time. I think I've covered every single element of cancer care and what have you in various interviews. I don't remember, and I'm open to correction, I don't remember us ever being asked from the HSE or what have you for someone to go on and talk about the importance of nutrition post-diagnosis, if you know what I mean, in terms of what you're...
Yeah.
Like, I'm more than happy to do it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm not saying it's...
Listen,
I just don't recall anyone saying, do you know what, by the way, one thing you have to be really careful of on a diagnosis or as you get older is that you have to get the right foods into you at the right times or whatever it might be. So maybe there's a little gap there that could be filled, Niamh, I wonder.
Oh, Greg, we have failed, I think, as a nutrition... I know people lambast me for this, but I think as a nutrition community, in a way, it's very difficult message to get across, about malnutrition. People say, oh, that means you're thin. No, it doesn't. It means you're failing to get, the right nourishment. And when you have cancer, I'm glad you mentioned cancer because there's a big gap that we've been talking about for a few years and it hasn't been filled. And that is that it's all very well getting people screened when they're walking into hospital, but cancer patients have a long journey. And you've probably talked to a lot of cancer patients. So they've already lost weight by the time they get diagnosed. Everybody then focuses on the tests and the cancer. They don't talk about the weight loss. They don't deal with the malnutrition. And that's when it should start. And I think also then the ambulatory care settings where they're getting chemotherapy and radiotherapy, they're actually having contact with those services all the time. But we need to extend mandatory screening to those settings where, there's thousands of contact points that we have with the cancer patient well before they get into the surgery, often or afterwards. So if we could actually get screening in there every time they make contact, we check their weight, we ask them about nutritional problems, we get them straight to a specialist oncology dietitian. We've only 6 in the country that are specialist oncology dietitians, and we have something like 34 full-time equivalents distributed across the entire country. If you look at those patients just making contact with cancer patients, but we've got 200,000 odd patients living with cancer. And they have an extended period of time and things change. So we need to up the numbers of clinical specialists and dedicated cancer dietitians, because there's no point in doing screening unless they can immediately see somebody to solve the problem and to give them the advice they need.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So you're right about saying screening is only identifying, but the only reason we screen is so that we can take action.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And on a cancer diagnosis, I presume, you need to be as physically well as you can be, even with that totally diagnosis. Right. But, obviously there's an awful lot of stress and anxiety that may influence what you take into your body. And then that can sort of maybe leave you less well equipped to go through the awful, in many cases, journey that you have to go through. It's sort of, so we really need to get at people early and get the right advice into them and say, look, it's really important that you eat this, have that. These are good for you, whatever vitamins are required and stuff. Listen, Niamh, it's very, very interesting information and shows a very specific trend. And I think given the amount of patients surveyed and right across the country, the 26 public hospitals, it's indisputable. It gives us a real genuine insight into where we are at the moment.
Well, listen, I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm glad you raised the point about communicating with cancer patients. People themselves need to understand just how important nutrition becomes if they get ill or if they have a family member. And there are ways that we can overcome appetite loss. You will possibly need nutrition support. And no matter how we get it into you, we need to get it into you so that you don't lose muscle, you don't struggle to meet your nutritional requirements. And it really makes a massive difference in cancer outcomes. It improves your outcomes in terms of, even dealing with the chemotherapy side effects. We know that people who are losing muscle don't tolerate the chemotherapy as well. So there's all kinds of reasons that we need to just have nutrition prioritised within medical and surgical care.
And one final point, Niamh. Obviously, good nutrition is vital as the body and brain develops. Have we a mechanism or a way to catch levels of malnutrition in our younger population when it's, as I say, it can interfere with growth, both in the physical and mental growth?
Yeah, I worked in infant nutrition for many years, actually, and infant nutrition is critically important for brain development and everything else. You sound like you know what you're talking about, and possibly you've talked to people before. The malnutrition there isn't the same because, as you said, growth is impacted. So it tends to be picked up more quickly. And it is systemized because we have checks on babies all the way through.
Brilliant,
so It's not the way it happens in an older person is they can languish in a bed, So quite honestly, the one thing that's worked in the past few years is that we have now got mandatory screening in public hospitals. And if we can extend that into community care settings, which we'll be dealing with, politicians over the next while to try and, force, to move that on. I think we can really have improvements in outcomes.
Niamh, thanks for so much of your time. Have a great day.
Right.
Take care of yourself.
Okay,
Goodbye.
thank you.
Bye-bye. Niamh Rice, report co-author and the Irish Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism Director. I would imagine that, I'm not saying there's no information given to people who've been diagnosed with cancer in terms of nutrition. I'd imagine maybe some of the charities work very well in that area. It's just, as I say, my own experience, and I'm not saying it's not happening, so I hope I haven't upset or offended anyone, is that I've never really, I don't recall sort of a nutritional expert coming on to talk about the importance of making sure you don't become malnourished. And what we're saying there is you could go from 15 stone to 14 stone and still appear healthy, right? But that would be classed with other indicators as malnourished.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 Til Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Polestar 2. Get behind the wheel and experience electric performance at Polestar Dublin. Polestar 2. Available to order now for 242 delivery with prices starting from €42,995. Polestar 2. The way electric cars should be. Book your test drive today at polestar.com.
Tesco Clubcard gives you the power to more. Score a banger with our Summer of Sport pizza meal deal. 2 pizzas and 2 sides for just €12 from our exclusive Crust and Crumb takeaway range. Tackle dinner easily with the takeaway classic crust bangin' barbecue chicken pizza. And slam 1 in or even 2 with 2 slam and sides, including takeaway buzzin' garlic dough balls. Get more from your shop with your Tesco Clubcard or app. Shop in-store or online. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability. Prices vary in express stores.
Expecting a baby? Then a visit to Cool Kids Sligo's summer sale is a must, with up to 50% off selected prams, pushchairs, car seats, nursery furniture and high chairs. Cool Kids Sligo, your premier destination for baby equipment in the Northwest. We will take a deposit and deliver free nationwide. Shop online at babyaccessories.ie.
House to Home Bridgend, Donegal. Our modest front door opens onto 2 floors of Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining and occasional furniture. Step into our showroom and see how we can transform your house into a home. House to Home furniture, flooring, slide robes and interiors, Bridgend, Donegal.
Now, the question has been asked over the weekend, why is Glenveagh Castle closed to the public? That question has been posed by independent Councillor Micheál Colm McGilla Espeg. He joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Councillor. How are you getting on?
Máidín White, Greg. Agus Máidín White, Tertiary, Ligalier.
It's great to have you on the programme. Okay, so,
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, jewel in the crown, all the usual superlatives that are used to describe Glenveagh Castle, but not accessible all of the time. So when is it being closed, or what's the story?
Well, that's the question, most definitely. And I called in to Glenveagh last week to see if there was a new manager appointed yet. And I was walking up towards the visitor centre. I saw a sign saying Castle closed. And I thought to myself, God, what's happening here? So talking to a good number of people, after spending some time out there, I found out that the castle, not just on the day I visited, but also on other days, had been closed. And what I've been led to believe, and I'm waiting for, I suppose, the minister to come back to me on this here, but what I'm led to believe is that it's the lack of adequate staffing. And as somebody who lives fairly close to Glenveagh, a part of it is in my constituency. Unfortunately, the castle isn't, but the visitor centre and a good part of the walk is. And I like everybody else in this county, pride ourselves in having this castle in our county and the fantastic, unbelievable welcoming staff that goes along with it. The grounds, the visitor centre, bus drivers, the cleaners, everybody. And to find out that the castle was closed, and just by chance, I met with a good number of people from different parts of the world. There was one family there that I kind of tic-tacked a small bit with them at the car park, and they came in a wee bit later to the visitor centre. And I would suggest that they might have been from Asia, and their parents were here for a holiday of a lifetime. And they were absolutely gutted when found out that they couldn't go to the castle, because they were quite excited about it, to visit the castle here in Donegal, where I'm assuming their children live and work. And it was sad. And there was a good number of other visitors that I did talk to and who were gutted. And I suppose for us, it's easy because we can nip in and out on different times. But if you're travelling such a long distance, need that be from Ballyclea, from Europe or other parts of the world, you don't get many chances to visit it. So
it's not really acceptable, is it, that one of our key parts of our tourism infrastructure is not accessible routinely during the summer season, for whatever the summer is? But you know what I mean? Like, you can obviously visit Glenveagh, do all the stuff you'd normally do. It's actually access to the castle, getting inside is what we're talking about. And I seem to remember staffing coming up as an issue here when it wasn't accessible previously. So who employs these staff? Who's responsible for this as far as we can determine?
Well, it looks like that it's the department, it's the National Parks and Wildlife who has the overall remit. And I appreciate that the National Parks remit is to conservate, and that it's by chance now that they have had the castle and the grounds over many years, but their main focus is to conservate. But there has to be something that would address this, because even on the day, talking to a good number of people and people who would know Glenveagh very well in the castle, they were saying that there needs to be a massive investment into the castle itself. There needs to be investment so that we continue to hold the castle in the good state that it should be in, and also that we hold it as one of our main flagships for locals and then tourists within the county. It is stunningly beautiful, no more than yourself, Greg, or anybody else listening to this interview. I am fairly regular, more so a number of years gone by.
You just muted there, Micheál. If you could just unmute, you might be getting a call in there or something. Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead. That's all right.
Calling probably to tell me that I'm on radio. But yeah, it's very disappointing, to be honest with you. I'm hoping a response.
No, you're muted again. They're persistent.
Anyway,
who is it? Who's ringing you?
I don't know, to be honest with you. But if you are listening, I will ring you back, as I do. But yeah, no, this is really, really important. Imagine if we had an article cut off from tourists for the whole summer, just that thousands of tourists who land in Glenveagh every year an article were cut off, that all the other flagship projects, any of our blue flag beaches were only open certain days, and that there was a barrier to stop people going to them. it's not acceptable.
But it's not unique to Glenveagh either. We've had similar staffing problems being highlighted at Green and Avalia, right? I just wonder, is this happening in Kerry, or is this happening in Mayo, or is this happening, in Sligo or whatever, whereby, your jewels in the crowns are inaccessible because of staffing in the tourism season? You can't imagine, I could never imagine, a hotel or a restaurant sort of saying, we're not opening Friday, Saturday and Sunday because we can't get staff. Do you know what I mean? Now, I do know by using that example that some places have had to curtail their opening hours. But do you know what I mean? Key areas, Micheál, I hope it's not uniquely a Donegal problem. It shouldn't be happening anywhere.
I hope it's not, and this is what I'm hoping to be able to speak to the Minister. I did email the Minister. I actually also texted the Minister as well in relation to this. What I had hoped to do is to find out who the new manager is, and I'm led to believe, and I had hoped that they would be in place by the summer, but it's going to be the end of the summer is what I've been told. That was why I initially went in to Glenveagh to find this out, because there are other projects there that I would like to see develop too. If you look at the Coolin-Yarrigal, the back of the mountain, Chahaslasha, that's a beautiful building lying there for many, many years. And I had spoken to others who were in management positions within Glenveagh about that. If you look at the Bridal Walk, there's a number of outbuildings there. There's buildings, the boat building, there's a number of other buildings there that are lying there that hasn't been invested in. And these are all things that our local community would like to see develop, and also those who would be attracted to come along and walk and visit our community.
Well, we've also reached out to Glenveagh and also to the Minister responsible. So between the jigs and the reels, we'll see what they have to say. For your time now, I appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Slán.
Good to meet you, Greg.
Bye-bye. Right, okay, Micheál Colin McGillen-Aspig there, Councillor. Very, very disappointed. I wasn't aware of that. I have to be careful when I'm sort of recanting from my own memory. I do remember having a conversation with someone there as it relates to staffing, but that was also sort of during the COVID restrictions, so I can't pinpoint exactly what was going on there, but I'm not sure it's a brand new problem. But be that as it may, isn't it terrible if people travel all over the world, or even from down the country, or even from Donegal town for that matter? You go there, you probably tell your children that you'll be able to go into the castle or what have you, and then you can't because of staffing issues. That's the kind of simple stuff, isn't it, folks, that we need to be getting right? We can't be dropping the ball on silly little things like that, I don't think.
The 9 Til Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Usually a radio ad is recorded in a studio. I'm phoning this one in on my run. I didn't want to carry my iPhone, so I'm calling from my Apple Watch, because only Vodafone's one number keeps my Apple Watch connected without my iPhone nearby. So I've still got calls, messages, music, and a connection I can always rely on everywhere. Feel that freedom, only with Vodafone One number.
Compatible powered on smartphone and smartwatch required. Eligibility, limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
We did the math to give you free school uniforms at Lidl. Spend €20 on school uniforms between the 1st and 7th of July. Scan the Lidl Plus app, and in August, get a €20 voucher for all your back to school needs. Go full Lidl as they go back to school. Visit the Lidl Plus app for more information. T's and C's apply.
You want your dog to be healthy and happy, and they're never happier than when they're being fed. The new Gain Elite grain-free range has been expertly formulated by Gain Pet Nutrition using our years of animal nutrition research. The new Gain Elite grain-free range contains quality, natural and fresh ingredients, providing everything a thriving dog needs, and has a Velcro seal to keep your dog's food fresher for longer. Give your dog a healthy and happy life with the Gain Elite grain-free range. Available online and at your nearest stocist.
And Sean's nipped into the bar for a quick chat with the work crowd. He won't stop. He has a match in the morning. But wait, a nod from the barman. There's Guinness 0-0 on tap. The chats are back on. Sean is in full swing and a fresh pint is handed over the bar. Guinness 0-0, 100% Guinness, 0% alcohol. Proud partner of Croke Park Stadium and proud partner of the GAA.
Visit drinkaware.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okay, so mostly cloudy at first today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle along with patchy mist and fog, which will clear this afternoon with a mix of cloud and brighter sunny intervals. Temperatures 14 to 17 degrees. And just keep an eye out on the winds for Wednesday and Thursday. They're going to unseasonably whip up. Now, on Friday, we were talking to members of the RNLI because they had a number of fundraising events. And we were talking about the important work that they do. And it's not often we actually get to speak to someone who was lucky enough to have the RNLI in hand when they needed them. But we do have, by coincidence, and it's an unfortunate coincidence, but I suppose with a happy ending, Seamus Martin with us. Good morning, Seamus.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Right, so you were out fishing on Saturday. Talk us through what it was like and then what happened to you, Seamus.
We went out fishing about 11:30 Saturday morning. It was pretty choppy, but we had a good day of fishing. And we arrived back in on Drumcraig Beach about 4:30. We tied up our main boat to the mooring, which is an 18-foot free hog.
Mm-hmm.
And we got into the 12-foot punt to row back to shore when we were hit with a freak wave. It bashed the small boat up against the big one and almost capsized us.
Oh, no.
And my fishing colleague rolled in the boat and dislocated his shoulder, which left him helpless. So we managed to get back in to the bay to another mooring, and we tied up there and contacted the RNLI, which were with us within half an hour.
Wow, so you managed to stay within the boat by the sounds of things, Seamus.
It was just pure luck that we managed to stay in the small boat. The wave came in over us and my life jacket inflated and me sitting in the boat.
Wow.
So
that's how much water you got on you, okay? And how did you manage to make contact with the RNLI from the boat?
Michael was my friend from Belfast. Michael had been out for the weekend and we went fishing, so I got Michael to ring the RNLI.
Brilliant. Okay, and just highlighting the importance, by the way, reason I asked that, of having all the safety equipment with you, the life jackets, and of course a way of contacting shore. So the call was made, you couldn't get back in from the position you were, and within half an hour the RNLI were on scene.
They were on scene. Brilliant service. Could not recommend them anymore. And everything was set in order. We were lifted into the rib, back out into the Swilly and on to the main RNLI boat, which brought us to Buncrana. And the ambulance service were waiting there for Michael.
Wow.
So everything worked out perfect. But only for the RNLI, we never would have got ashore.
Wow.
We wouldn't have a hope.
And he was in a lot of pain. I would say dislocated shoulder is not a pleasant experience.
I was waiting for him to pass out. The pain was so severe. And he just had a pair of shorts and a T-shirt on him as well.
Stressful enough, Seamus, for the two of you.
I never experienced anything like it. I've been fishing for the past 30 years or so with different skippers and different boats and all. Always seen the RNLI up and down past my house here in the Swilly. Always wanted to see the inside of the big boat, so I got my wish.
Yes, you certainly did. It's amazing what they do, though, is it? And the volunteers, you know what I mean? The pager goes off, they rush down, hop in, and you know what? They didn't have to get you in terrible weather, but I often think, you know, when you hear of a trawler or something a couple of miles off the coast, and the size of the waves and the swell, and they head north or they head west out into it, it really is amazing what they do, Seamus. Your rescue, as important it was to you and your fishing mate, you know, probably a walk in the park for them compared to some of the stuff that they do.
Definitely. I was talking to the skipper. He said they had already been out on a mission off Maldenhead during the week at some stage. I think it was during the night, rescuing a trawler or a sailboat, which was a big operation, he said. So, and that was at night.
Amazing.
So they do an amazing job.
All right, Seamus.
And the ambulance service. So.
would it discourage? I mean, obviously you've 30 years fishing and a love of the water, and you've seen it all. Unfortunately, you've seen it all now following the weekend. Would it put you off going out again, Seamus? I'm sure it wouldn't.
No, I'm about to go out from Downings now on Saturday.
Right, okay. What did you get? What did you catch out of interest?
All we got was mackerel.
Mackerel?
Yeah, that's the only fish we got.
Were they
We've
wee?
been out for 3 or 4 hours.
Were they wee mackerel or what?
We got there were some fairly good ones. Them here in the bucket. I'm going to cook them later.
Lovely stuff. So out of Downings, there's a bit of pollock in play out off the pier there, maybe flats, dogfish.
There would be. Yeah, and there's still a lot of fish out there. You had a lot of fish off Malin Head and out over the wreck there and Ross Willie, what's the name of it?
All right. Well, listen, enjoy it, and it's great. It's great to speak to someone that can talk of the amazing work of the RNLI. We're big fans of them here, and I hope your mate's getting on well now too. He'll have got the best of care as well. Get the shoulder popped in, and it'll take a few weeks to recover, but he'll be all right. I hope.
He'll be okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Seamus, goodbye. Take care of yourself. Seamus Martin there. Just a scary experience, even for someone who's experienced on the water there. 08660 25,000, the WhatsApp and text to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Hand pocket gate rumbles on it. Amazing how easy people are influenced in that. We took a picture with the lady that was in a little earlier on, and who has his hand in his pocket? Misha. So there you go. But Mary says, Greg, can't see no harm you having your hand in your pockets, whatever you feel comfortable with, Mary. It's actually sort of a little bit of discomfort. I don't think anyone really likes the picture getting taken. It's kind of maybe sort of a bit of a security thing. A family of 5 to Croke Park yesterday. Tickets, €140. Diesel, €60. Eating the way up and back around. €200. An expensive day out. Indeed it is. It is. But I mean, what's the point in charging so much money to have a half-empty stadium? Do you know what I mean? Fill it up. Is it hard to judge, though? Is it hard to judge, how many people might be interested and to get the price right? I don't know. Hi, Greg. Regarding the carer's allowance, I work as a carer for my mum, and if I work out my hours, I'm getting around €6 an hour. The minimum wage, $12.70. So we're not even getting that. Yeah, and there's a lot of carers get no money at all. It's brilliant to see Marie Le Pen's result in France. Well done to her, says a listener. Another on the price of going to watch Donegal play. Expensive day out, Croke Park, 45 ticket, €30 bus return, a few pints, 650 plus eat time. Have a look at things. Rip Off Ireland alive and well. So the bus was 30, €75, 650 total. I hope you weren't on your own because that would be a lot of pints. But I'm not trivializing it, but I hope there were three or four of you. You've drank the place dry. The problem with having a couple of drinks is having to dispose of them a little later on, if you know what I'm saying. I did have 2 in not Croke Park, the Aviva down watching Pink, and to be honest with you, I was glad of the opportunity to go to the bathroom. It's handy enough for fellas, but you'd have to watch what you're drinking if you're a lady, because the toilets seem to be much busier. Greg, I'm just back from holiday. While there, I hired a car, which we do every year. They usually ask for a copy of my driving license. There's no issue there. Only this year, she told me, it was a year and 1 year and 6 months out of date, which means I hired a car last year with an invalid driving licence. And I've been driving around Ireland with no valid licence for a year and a half. We are notified when our TV licence is up. Why not our driving licence? Who remembers in 10 years to renew your licence? Let it be a lesson to everyone this morning. Check the date on your driving licence. Okay, that's interesting. Hi, Greg. Well done to Donegal yesterday. Congratulations to Jim and team. Now, let's get bigger numbers at Croke Park and get every town painted green and gold. I mean, it really is remarkable. We'll talk about it to Brendan after 11, but it really is remarkable that when you think of where we were last year, that we're now prepping for a semi-final against Galway. And I thought Galway were great at the weekend too. Nutrition is the be-all and end-all of your health, says a listener. Doctors only spend a very short time on nutrition in training, and if a patient came in with an issue, they're trained to prescribe a tablet, not to actually go looking for the root cause of the issue to start. People need to be more proactive in the doctor's visit and ask questions as well as problems. Indeed, you always have to, in the health service, self-advocate. I think you can't. We blindly trust our doctors, and we should as well too. You have to have faith in them; they're excellent. But also too, you do have to self-advocate and look after ourselves as well. Greg, thank you for reading comments. Just to add, it isn't merely the opinions of Professor Sachs and many, many others. It is evidence-based facts, independent, no agenda facts, backed up with solid evidence. Now, whether people choose to believe it is up to them. 100%, and that's the point I was making. But there are always competing facts. And I find I don't know if the world has changed or I'm more frustrated with it. I'm not questioning your views or your opinions, and I think you picked that up in your second message. I get that. But, for every one person that has an opinion on this side and can quote scientists and doctors and eminent professionals, there is another group on the other side that can do the same, and it aligns to their point of view. And I just find it really quite sore on the head. I went to a shop in Buncrana a few weeks ago and returned my bottles. I put them all through the machine, but before my receipt printed, an error came on the screen and I didn't get a receipt. I went into the shop and told the cashier that there was a problem with the bottle return. She said, no, there isn't. I fixed it 10 minutes ago. I said, well, it's taken my bottles and I didn't get a receipt. She shrugged her shoulders and said, can't help you with that. I left the shop fuming. What's the point in going to the trouble of collecting the bottles and bringing them back when you have staff with that attitude? Well, I would have looked for a higher up there, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have just walked away in that situation. And Aldi, which is the shop in question, perhaps would be very interested in that as well. It is a hassle. It's a pain. We didn't have to do it before. We were usually using our recycle bins before. I think I would have stood my ground a bit there, but I understand it's different maybe when you're there in the heat of the moment. Right. We have loads coming up in the next hour. Talking about different types of stuff, a little bit more light-hearted and featurey as well, so stay tuned for that. It is the 9 Til Noon Show here on Highland Radio. Back with more after these.
The 9 Til Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Go all Aldi with summer barbecue sizzlers, now only $2.99 each, including specially selected Black Angus reduced fat 6-ounce burgers was $3.79, now only $2.99. Plus, specially selected Black Angus ultimate 6-ounce beef burgers, Butcher Selection quick cooked chicken fillets, and Butcher Selection pork belly strips worth $3.49 each, now only $2.99 each. All Board B quality assured. Go all Aldi while stocks last.
Sorry, my flight is leaving. Do you mind if I jump ahead? If there's ever a time to get ahead, this is it. Book early with Travel Department and save up to €400 per person on incredible destinations in 2025. They'll arrange everything with the perfect balance between doing it all and downtime. This 2025 offer won't be repeated, so book by July the 8th at traveldepartment.com. Travel Department. Let's see more. T's and C's apply.
Today, we are all pioneers, standing at the cusp of a bold new frontier, the era of electrification. At Lexus, we know this landscape well, with a luxurious all-electrified range, including the stunning ES Hybrid Saloon and the award-winning RX plug-in hybrid SUV. Start your journey with us today at lexus.ie. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Your local dealer is Lexus Letterkenny.
Clarins Gift of Beauty promotion is now on at McElhenney's. Purchase 2 or more Clarins products, 1 to be moisturiser or serum, and receive a choice of 3 deluxe beauty treats. Plus, receive 2 additional makeup must-haves with a 3rd purchase. 1 gift per customer while stocks last. Exclusively in-store and online at McElhenney's Ballybuffet.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 Til Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. Brendan Devaney is going to be joining us very shortly to run through the weekend's sporting action. Get your views, your comments into 086 60 25,000 right now. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update. It's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí are currently at the scene of a crash in the Polestar roundabout in Letterkenny. The collision involving a lorry and a car occurred at around 9 a.m. The road remains open at this time, but motorists are advised to expect delays. Tourists are being left disappointed when visiting Glenveagh National Park to discover the castle is closed to the public. It's believed the amenity is inaccessible on certain days due to staff shortages. Councillor Michael Collum McGill-Asbrook has written to the Minister of State at the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, Malcolm Noonan, seeking clarity on the situation. More first-time buyers in Donegal will now be able to qualify for the first-time home scheme. It's been announced that the limits of the affordable housing scheme are to be increased. The limits of the scheme will rise by €25,000, with all new homes worth up to €350,000 now eligible irrespective of location. A man who was rescued by the RNLI over the weekend says he and his friend would not have made it back to shore without the volunteer crew's help. Seamus Martin and his fishing mate Michael were coming back in from a day on the water when they were hit by a freak wave. As a result, Michael dislocated his shoulder. Lochswinny, Aller and I were paged by Mellon Head Coast Guard to Carryblah. The pair were recovered and then handed over to medical professionals. A man in Derry has been arrested following the seizure of a quantity of drugs yesterday afternoon. At around 4:10, police responded to a report of a male acting suspiciously on Shipquay Street. The 22-year-old was subsequently arrested on suspicion of possession with intent to supply a Class C controlled drug. And finally, time is running out for students to change their CAO choice. The deadline for students to change their chosen course is 5 o'clock this evening. Changes can be made free of charge, and students are being urged to focus on their preferred option and not what points they think they'll receive. That's all for now. Back again with more at 12 o'clock.
Thanks, Donna Marie.
We all want to restore our world's natural environment. But where do we even start? How about right here? With SuperValue Tidy Towns, we can reimagine our local areas. Every time we rewild, every time we strengthen biodiversity, every time we support our SuperValue Tidy Towns volunteers, that's real action. Because at SuperValue, we believe that every local action makes a global impact. SuperValue. Real food, real people, real action.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 Till Noon Show. Now, just after 7 o'clock this evening, it is the DL debate with Brendan Devaney. He joins me on the show now. Good morning, Brendan.
All right, G-Man, what's happening?
Can you imagine we're prepping for a semi-final in 2 weeks' time, either Saturday or Sunday? I heard it was Saturday, but I noticed on the fixtures page it's still played either Saturday or Sunday. Do you know what the story is there?
Yeah, listen, I'd heard rumours about, different dates, but I suppose we need it confirmed. I'd heard it was the Sunday, but listen, it's important, I suppose, from Donegal people because we have to plan for Dublin to get the news as early as we can.
Well, someone messaged me and says, when's the game? Is it Saturday and Sunday? I said Saturday, I believe. And then they said, oh, great, I'll book my flight. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
beep, don't do that.
You and your big social media reach, you have to be very careful with things like that, Greg.
I was worried I'd end up with a bill from Ryanair. Let's, excuse me, let's talk through the weekend's action then. We'll start on Saturday, I suppose. And the big story, and maybe not as big a shock as it was made out, though it's still a remarkable achievement, Galway edging Dublin out for a point, and good value for that win as well, would you say, Brendan?
Yeah, well, listen, being a half Galway man, I had a good bit of skin in the game. I had a great time for the Galway boys, and we know quite a few of them. And I suppose first time in 15 years, Dublin have lost a quarter-final, such has been their dominance. So just at Croke Park, we just keep thinking that it'll fall back in that setting where Dublin will find a way, but we've seen a more human Dublin. They were so ruthless and relentless this last number of years. They just didn't make mistakes or very little mistakes, and they were so efficient. But we've seen a team, I suppose, at times in the first half when they pulled away from Galway, it looked like it was going to be a normal day out for them in terms of overturning this Galway team who were patched up. Now, that's it. Obviously, 2022 is only 2 years ago, Greg, Galway could have very easily been All-Ireland champions. This is the same team. So I just think that we were a bit up and down with Galway. No one really knew. But if those players were all on the pitch, and they basically were, they still had the quality to beat this Dublin team. And when Dublin covered a bit, I mean, it was amazing if you look at the game in Castlebar when Mayo took it to them, having Mannion and McCaffrey to bring on, and then it was taking them off. It looked like they definitely got their tactics the wrong way around in terms of having that brilliance coming on to finish the game when it opened it up. And they were struggling looking for them scores later on. Right? They couldn't seem to get them. And that said, there's quite a few instances later on where they give away possession. And Con O'Callaghan's last strike, he was almost at the D. Greg, for a player of his qualities, that's a complete tap over point. Even in extra time, I don't know, there was something about Galway and the subs that came on for them. And as I say, the players getting through the game. We said it pre-game last week, Greg, if that Galway team that was patched up stayed in the pitch, they had a real chance, and it was a phenomenal victory for them.
Yeah, indeed, and opens it all up. Armagh v Roscommon, not as entertaining a game, I don't think. Roscommon have had a great season. Armagh progressed to the last 4.
Yeah. Listen, that was always looking like a potential, I suppose, upset in terms of Armagh were the favourites. Armagh were under savage pressure. The Ulster finals, the quarterfinals defeats. There's so much weighing on this team that have been on the go for so long. Indeed, the manager's there 10 years, which is very unusual in the modern game now. So they needed to get to a semi-final because it would be progression for this team, particularly after losing the Ulster final to themselves. So it was a massive game for them. That said, Roscommon had put on a brilliant performance the week before. The sending off obviously ruined the game. I think in terms of a spectacle, it gave Armagh such an advantage. I'd say the Roscommon players didn't perform to their level at all that we've seen the week before. And again, tough for Roscommon. This team really has never got a lot of respect. They've had a couple of big moments in every season, and they've always had a tough defeat at the end of it where they're left scratching their heads. It's never been a close game, and Armagh bossed that for them. So listen, it's big territory for Armagh going in against Kerry now. I mean, it's dream stuff for this side. They think that they could make an All-Ireland final, because I think if they did that, even though you might think just making a final, but making a final for the likes of Armagh after everything they've been through would be a huge occasion.
And I suppose they can go in with some confidence against Kerry, can't they? I mean, they've had a pretty handy passage, have they not, up until now? And, Derry never pushed them too hard yesterday. Maybe you see it a little bit differently. But, I mean, it was a dire game, and you'll never see the criticism of Kerry that if that was Donegal playing Derry, we would just be dragged over the coals. But with Kerry, it's like, it's an off day. It's just, you know what I mean? They just didn't have a great day. Whereas we would be disseminated and called all sorts of names down the country. But anyway, be that as it may, Kerry past Derry. Armagh will look on at that and go, well, okay, we're in with a shout here, will they?
Yeah, there'd be nothing great. And if you look at the stars, leading into that game yesterday, Sean O'Shea and David Clifford weren't playing well, and they didn't play that particularly well yesterday. Nobody is. The scores is coming from all over the pitch for Kerry, which has been unusual for them in terms of this season. Might suit them better. Listen, Kerry didn't want to be out, didn't want to be, I suppose, played into a Derry counter-attack system. So they were saying, right, we'll play it your way, and we've got the better forwards, which is how it turned out. And you can understand that. For Armagh looking on, I suppose, we keep saying which Armagh. With Galway, a few up and down performances, that's why it was hard to gauge and get in this. Armagh's the same. I mean, even in games, you look at the Ulster final, they were brilliant first half. Only the absolute unbelievable skills of Oisín Gallen kept us within touching distance in that first half, and they played some brilliant football. In the second half, they went cagey as Donegal went at them, and we've seen ups and downs against Derry and Celtic Park. That's that same Derry team which gave Kerry a game up into the last 10. They destroyed Derry. Then they go down to Galway and they're passive again. So Armagh fans and the rest of us are struggling, saying if Armagh go after teams, they have power, they have strength, they have all the ability in the world, but for some reason they don't always do that. So if they play that same tactic that Derry did, Kerry will beat them. They have to actually go for Kerry. Now, Kerry will love that because Kerry will want the football match. So if Armagh did, that could be set up for a cracking match. And as I say, Greg, if they play it passive, possession-based against Kerry, Kerry will do the same, and they'll have the better men to unlock the doors. And I think that's the key to Armagh, they actually have a go.
And we'll focus, obviously, on Donegal v Louth in a moment. But, is it unique in this championship? And it's all the counties, really, that were, I think, almost in the last stage. Team A thrashes Team B. Team C struggles against Team B, and then Team A struggles against Team... I was trying to explain that in my head. It's not coming out clearly, but there seems to be no consistency, right? So you might say, well, if you turned over Roscommon like that, you go into the next game because this team struggled against Roscommon and it'll be a walkover, and then you're getting... You know what I mean? There just seems to be a randomness. And even in the Donegal game, the first half, bit ropey, second half, a great improvement. So as you say, there's some inconsistencies within games, but certainly from game to game with a lot of the counties that got into the last 8.
Yeah, leading into this, I thought this was the first weekend, Greg, we could really trust teams. And when you think about it, I suppose we could trust Donegal. They did what they needed to do. So did Armagh. So did Kerry. And I think obviously Galway were well within their merits to go up and beat Dublin. So that was kind of, we were wondering if the Galway team, the injuries to obviously Comer, McDaid and Walsh, if they could get through them, they had a chance, and they did. So I think previous to that, Greg, some of the performances we've seen, if you like the Mayo performance against Dublin and then the first half against Derry, it's just like what happened there? Like even for the likes of Tyrone, the performance against us, and then they go and beat Cork, and then you look at it then in terms of their performance in against Roscommon, and you're like, what is happening? And from team to team, game to game. So there's been a lot of up and downs with teams, as I say, Armagh's performance against Derry that I mentioned, and then their performance then after against Galway. So I think at the weekend there, we've probably seen, even though you're right about Donegal, first half, like giving away too many opportunities, particularly score chances. I mean, I think the first 6 Louth attacks, they could have had 6 points. They only got 1 point from. Out of our 6 attacks, we had 5 scores on the board. So we had the better forwards. We always knew that going into the game, Rick, but our worry would be against a better forward line that we can't cough up that many opportunities.
But are we the most consistent team going into the semis? When you think, what is it, 1 defeat really this year to Cork? I mean, obviously you might have some inconsistencies within games, but from the line and on the field, we seem to be able to change things, in play. I'm not saying we're the best team left in it. Galway looked fantastic, but are we the most consistent team going into the last 4?
Well, I'd say Kerry would be something similar in terms of they haven't been beaten. We were beaten once.
But look who we played.
Yeah, well, listen, that's it. I mean, you'd say to Kerry, listen, it's not their fault. They've beat whoever has come there. So I know you might have said they haven't got the workout, but they haven't done much wrong either. They maybe haven't set the world alight as well. But that was one of those ones where in the modern game, Greg, you look at as I say, it's about getting across the line, but how much does our game suffer week after week with this get across the line one? I mean, the Kerry lads just want to be in the semi-final. They want to get back 1 to All-Ireland, get their title back from Dublin, as they would see it, their title. But they had it the year before, if you like. So that's the thing about sides like Kerry playing Ulster teams. No one wants to be caught out. And the Louth tactic yesterday was very interesting because when they went zonal in a couple of games I've seen there, Greg, there was some points kicked from very easy positions from the opposition, and you could see yesterday that they worked on that when they dropped in, everybody was responsible for a man, and you could see players tracking Donegal players right across the line. So when they come inside the 45, there was a man to take them. The problem was that it was 1-on-1 then, and we had so many players who could drop the shoulder and beat people, and nobody better than, obviously there was loads of them there, but I mean, Patrick Morgan, I mean, it was a Superman performance yesterday. I mean, out of this world. I mean, how do you stop Patrick Morgan when he's the whole pitch to play in? He's taking the ball from deep. He drops his shoulder and he's gone, and you just can't physically catch them. And then
he's almost, sometimes he gets the ball and it's almost, right, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, it just goes. But the thing is, he's unbelievable skill. And when he gets inside, you watch him, he just takes this little second to steady himself up and he whips this lovely ball, and he can strike the ball anyway with his left foot on the run, arcing, and if there's players coming on the block, he can tap it over.
Yeah. I think we're averaging around 18 or 19 points a game too, which is a decent return. No one could criticise this Jim McGuinness team of grinding out low-scoring victories anyway.
Yeah. Listen, we're playing with so many forwards. I think if you're having any fear about Donegal, as we've mentioned before, in the first half, we weren't able to stop Louth attacks, and even though we had numbers back, we weren't getting enough pressure on it. Now, you could see at half-time the conversation was had in there, Greg, because the Donegal defence was much tighter, and when Louth came inside the scoring zone, 2, 3, 4 players clamping in and tackling. So that was much more encouraging second half. So sometimes, Greg, when the game is so open end to end, it's hard to get set in that defensive shape. I mean, I was saying to the lads there yesterday up at Crow Park, the tackling, you see players rarely getting actually tackled, people on it, but there's so many little frees because Players are so good in the ball. That pitch is so fast playing. And players step away. So, number one, they don't want to foul. Number two, then it's hard to get in to get a tackle because players are moving so fast. We have so many skillful players. But then at the other end of the pitch, we still have to have that. I mean, you've seen Conor O'Donnell was named late for Kern. So we basically were playing with, Owen Ban, you would call a defender, even though he's an attacking defender. Outside that, your only out and out defender was McCall was on the pitch when Kern came off. So you've seen the statement from Jim from the get-go. Conor O'Donnell was coming in and basically a corner forward for a corner back. And that was a great match for O'Donnell as well after his coming on against Clare, hitting a couple of points. Same yesterday. He's going to be a big plus going into this semi with Galway.
All right, stay there. We're going to talk about your guests. A brilliant lineup, as always, this evening. Sinead Breen, the Donegal County Board GAA PROs with us. Hi, Sinead. The big question around the county now at the moment. Am I going down to Croke Park on Saturday or Sunday?
We don't know as yet, but look, we'll be there with bells on either way. Aye. That's it. It's an amazing thing to be looking forward to.
Yeah. So when do you think we might find out, Sinead?
Look, I suppose we're all hoping that we'll find out today so that, logistics can be organised for everybody. But, we really just don't know as yet. The minute that we do know, it will be gone up on our website and on all our social media channels.
Obviously, you're close to the camp, Sinead, on this journey. What's the buzz been like?
I just couldn't be prouder of them. I think they're unbelievable. I'm actually in awe of what they do because they've given the county back so much. And there's so much positivity coming from it. And I suppose it's important that people realise what the management and the players give to this. It's like a full-time job every day, and they're all working jobs along with that. So they're a credit to themselves, their clubs, their families and our county.
All right, brilliant. So, Sinead, people are saying what day the game's going to be on or not on. The bottom line is we don't know. We'll know this afternoon, and you'll have it up, and we'll get it out there as soon as we know.
Absolutely.
We'll get the throw-in time this afternoon as well?
Well, hopefully, yeah,
Okay.
that would all come in it. Could I just ask that if anyone is on Instagram, Peadar Mogan has yet again been nominated for Player of the Week. If people could go over to the official GA Insta stories and give Peadar a vote. I mean, everybody's seen what he gave to the game yesterday. He was phenomenal. Superman, I think Davies after calling him. So it'd just be lovely to let him win this again.
Of course, Brendan Devaney's got both of his phones out on Instagram, 2 separate accounts. He's voting.
Good, glad to hear it. Yeah, yeah. And the Donegal GA 50-50 is open for the 4th round. Just look, it takes resources to get these players and their management team to where they are. So if anybody could help support the Donegal GA 50-50, again, that's on all our social media channels. It would be really grateful for any help.
No bother, Sinead. Listen, thank you so much for that. Sinead Breen there, County PRO. Brendan, Pádraig Hilferty is your wingman this evening. Michael Murphy's coming up to studio as well. Does Michael Murphy commentate on the Donegal games, does he, or is it a coincidence of fixtures?
I suppose different people go different places.
Yeah.
Greg, it just depends on what. I suppose the 4 games at the weekend, they'll use a spread of people. So, yeah, listen, great. It's great to see him up there. He's a great analyst. And
He's doing well, isn't he? He's really found his feet, yeah.
For us to have him up, obviously, Greg, see what guys you get, and like Aaron Kiernan, and we'd be very close. We do a podcast every week. I don't like, cousin boys do so many. So I always like, it's only every now and then I would ask Michael, and he's very kind. He's going to come up to the studio. It's always great to be in studio too, Greg. It's that wee thing of it helps the conversation that wee bit more to have him up there. And of course, it's 2014, Greg, since we're in an All-Ireland semi. I mean, it was just poor life. It's 1957 for them. So listen, maybe we shouldn't, enjoy the moments.
Actually, just one quick question you might talk about this evening. What's the future for the Derry management here? Stick or twist?
It has to be twist, Greg.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, there's been so much around it now. That said, Greg, the last couple of performances, I don't know where they came out of. When I was in Celtic Park that day, I was like, this is a disaster. They're going to get absolutely annihilated in their next game, and yet they came through it, and they still put up a show. So I think Derry could be dangerous next year. But like, after everything that's happened, is that the dressing room was obviously pulled together. So there's an outside chance. A couple of weeks ago, Greg, I said there's not a snowball's chance. But now I actually don't know, because Greg, there's not that many high performance level people out there. We're just absolutely best. If we have Jim McGuinness, I mean, there's no other Jim McGuinnesses anywhere.
There's not a queue.
The fact he's Donegal, he's on there. We're lucky. Other counties, who is there? Greg? Do you look at people that's going to take you to the next level? that's a difficult thing to do. So listen, whether it might be more about who's the replacement, Greg, than anything.
Yeah, that's it indeed.
If
Yeah.
Stick or twist, as you say.
All right. So tonight, Brendan is going to be joined by Park Hilfty, sitting on with him. Michael Murphy into studio, which is great. Michael McMullen from Gaelic Live, he's on as well, covering all of the weekend's action. Proper pros talking about the quarterfinals and looking forward to the semi-final pairings. Do you have Donegal favourites for a final position?
I think it's 50-50.
I think
Galway
you're right,
won
yeah.
as favourites simply because they've beaten Dublin. But anybody, I think, knows their football. Right? There's absolutely nothing between these two teams is set up for it could be a brilliant game too, because Galway can mix it, and so can we, but we like to play ball. So they have been quite restrictive this year. People have been surprised at it compared with, say, 2022. They've played a defensive game. They're not conceding goals, but neither are we. Sean Patton, clean sheet again. I have to give a shout out to a club man.
Yeah, excellent. And I think two teams that haven't played us for a while realise when they're on the pitch with us that we're a whole handling leg. We're a tough team to play against with the speed and what have you. Brilliant stuff, Brendan, as always, on air from 7. Brendan Devaney there, 08660 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts are more than welcome to that number.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 Til Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 Til Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,950 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Are you ready for Cairn Community Games? Come and make some noise. Throw shapes, run, paint, cycle, sing. Take to the stage and make friends. It doesn't matter where you're from or what you're into. There's a place for you at Cairn Community Games, because together we're all in. Play your part at cairncommunitygames.ie.
With over 1,000 TFI Local Link door-to-door services nationwide, if you're on our route, we're on our way. To use the service, simply pre-book the day before you want to travel with your TFI Local Link office. To find out more about door-to-door services in your area, visit transportforireland.ie. We're Transport for Ireland. We're Transport for you.
Donegal County Council, in association with Bryson Recycling, are holding a half-price bulky goods event at Carndonagh, Milford and Letterkenny Recycling Centres from the 24th of June until the 6th of July during site opening times. For more information and opening times, visit donegalcoco.ie or call the council on 074 9153 900.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
22 minutes past 11. You welcome back to the 9 Til Noon Show. Right, Mark Gallagher works here at Highland Radio, of course, but has other interests. He has a very popular YouTube channel, Mark Gallagher, and his partner, Asya. And he joins us now. Mark, thanks for calling in.
Morning, Greg. How are you? Good to see you.
Mysterious person, working in sport, doing all that stuff, the tech stuff, but also, lo and behold, in the background, you've got this really popular YouTube channel. How long has it been up and running?
We started in 2022. Back, I used to live in China. I lived there for 5 years. And we were making this big plan to go traveling in South America. And when we were watching lots of YouTube videos about different countries over there, we came across a few channels and kind of were watching and thinking, geez, we could do that. So yeah, we decided to give it a go, and here we are a couple of years later with a thriving channel of our own. So yeah, all good.
So talk to us about the format of the channel and what you do.
Yeah, so when we first started watching travel YouTube videos, we found that we were kind of left with more questions than answers after them, because they would show all the beautiful places, but they wouldn't really give you, proper information, even silly stuff like, where to park, how much stuff is, where the best place to enter places is. So when we were making our videos about South America, we obviously wanted to make them, beautiful and show the places in the best light possible, but also for the viewer to be more informative than your standard travel blogger, because they leave a lot of information like that out, which if you're actually going to go to travel to the places are really important.
And also high quality. In terms of the footage and the way they put together too. If you were going to do it, you wanted to do it right.
Exactly, and we went pretty heavy from the start. Like, we didn't, a lot of travel bloggers would start maybe with their iPhone and see how we got on, but we just kind of
got the drone straight out.
We just kind of woke up one day and said, right, we're going to give this a go. So we, on one payday, we went and bought a camera, the drone, and I got Asya the GoPro for her birthday, and that's still the same three devices that we use.
No,
for
the videos look good, and it's important to. I'm not saying that they're the same as every other video, but there's a formula really to what appeals on YouTube and these style of videos. Lots of information, quick edits, keep it interesting, that type of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I must give credit to my fiance Asya. The editing side of things is her baby. Like she's been doing that since 2022. Like, and I think when you start a project like this, you kind of have to be bad at it for a certain amount of time until you get good at it. Like
scroll to oldest videos first.
No. I'm not recommending that. No. So we just started making videos in China, and you think you're great, but then looking back a couple of years, it's like anything else. Once you gain experience and then you kind of know what to shoot in the moments and what to say, and you just get better and better at it. Like, so now we've a couple of years experience and it's going well. Like, so.
And it's so previously, as you've mentioned, travel videos from all around the world, from China to Ecuador, Mexico, back home now, and the focus is on promoting Ireland, right? So, I mean, you know this is an interest of yours, of course, if you can make money all the while too, but there is a particular motivation for you to sort of show what we've got around the world.
Definitely. As you said, like I've been to nearly 35 countries now, and like the decision to move back to Ireland was very much focused on where's the best place that we can continue this travel blogging journey. And I mean, like I'm sure we're going to touch on it. We just released a new video about Donegal, and there's 20 or 25 places that we touched in there that could have been in any video from around the world. Really, we've made videos about Brazil, Mexico, all over South and Central America, India, Sri Lanka, Jordan, and our Irish videos are every bit as like stunning and spectacular as any other videos we've made.
Sometimes we need to sort of change the way we look at ourselves too, don't we? And I mean, it is amazing what we have to offer here, and that I'm sure in the countries that you've travelled, you've had that sort of life-changing experience, or you've got this affinity with this place that you visited, be it Brazil or Bolivia or wherever it might be. But people from other parts of Ireland around the world can come and have that experience here, and that's what you're showing them. It's a window into what they can sort of look forward to.
Exactly, and for me, I'm lucky in the respect that Asya's from Russia, so her coming to Donegal is her travelling. So like when she came here and I was with her, it is her exploring a new place, and through the lens of a tourist coming here, I got to like admire the beauty of Donegal. And I suppose growing up here, I would have only ever really seen Donegal from the perspective I've played at all these football pitches and in a show, and I know where everywhere is, and I've seen that it's a beautiful place. But when I brought Asya here and we travelled to the far-fetched corners of beaches in Inishowen or Malin Head or Hornhead, Slieve League, the places really are every bit as spectacular as anywhere else we've been. So.
And obviously the common denominator is that, it is Donegal, but you can have such almost like a different cultural experience depending on where you go as well too, not just the beautiful scenery, but, Ardra or Bundoran, Downings or Ironmore, though those two I find are quite similar, Tory, Inishowen, you know what I mean? Like you can travel within this county, and many of us did over the last couple of years, and it's just like a completely different experience.
Exactly.
That's for my experience. Now, for others, it might go, Greg, you're talking, you know what. But for me, that's how it felt.
No, you're right. It's we've got everything here. Like in our new video, we have, even places that you wouldn't even think, like fine dining experiences we have in the video. Cliff walks, hiking, some of the best beaches in the world. Truly, like on a sunny day, you'd do well to find better beaches than we have up here. Yeah, we have it all, honestly.
Yeah. All right, by the way, should have mentioned the YouTube channel is called Something to Remember Ireland. So if you type that into YouTube, it pops up. At that point, it'd be great if you subscribe to the channel or even switch the bell on. There's not a lot of spam there. It's all good content, so well worth subscribing to as well and putting the notifications on. And also to, as I say, the latest videos in Donegal, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail at the moment, but there's a lot for people listening to this show in Donegal to discover in that.
Yeah, definitely, that's the plan. Not only do we want to kind of shed a light on Donegal for visitors to the county, but a lot of people in Donegal might watch the video and think, geez, I've never heard of that place, or I've never been there, but it looks amazing in that. In the video. So that's the plan. It doesn't, like, a lot of our demographic on YouTube would be Americans or, you know, people from the UK that might be thinking about coming to Ireland for the first time. So that's obviously a demographic that we want to keep. But also, if people from Donegal are listening to this this morning, just maybe give the video a watch, and you might end up appreciating, you know, the beauty that is around us here.
And listen, you have fantastic numbers on the YouTube channel, but this is the kind of material people seek out when they've got a plan as well. So it's almost quality over quantity to some extent, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think people looking at your stuff, they're thinking, right, this is what I would do. Sorry, I'm thinking going somewhere. Let me have a look at that. What I think is interesting too in some of the videos is which you actually don't see as much as possibly you should, is sort of helping people coming here understand a bit of the culture.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just there's sand on that beach, there's a cliff you can climb. It's to sort of give people a bit of insight into our culture as well.
Definitely. Yeah. We've posted a couple of funny videos. We think they're funny anyway, about Asia's perspective on Irish culture. And, you know, we've posted, last year we made a video that actually was probably our most successful video so far. It's funny that we've, you know, spent all this time traveling and making these informative travel guides and spent a lot of time and money and energy and editing on videos about all of the world. And then when we make a funny video about Asia's perspective of Irish culture, it kind of blew up and became our most successful video.
See, the funny thing is, as you say, a lot of it's good stuff and serious, but one of the videos, it points out whether we equals small, like WEEE equals small. Like that's really quite important. We were up in Belfast and we was with a girl who tends to use the word we an awful lot. So it's a wee sandwich and a wee portion of chips and a wee cup of tea. And the person serving was, what is going on here?
Yeah.
What is going on? What is this person saying?
Yeah. We actually live in a really quirky country with a lot of different, you know, interesting nuances that you might not realize growing up here. Like, living in China, I met a lot of, you know, South Africans and Russian and people from all over the world. And when you would talk about these little nuances, they become really interested. And I think it's really important that we kind of appreciate our Irishness and start to appreciate specifically Donegal, but Ireland in general. Like, we really do have a lot of little quirks and really interesting parts of our culture that need to be appreciated.
Yeah, and also to celebrate and embrace our culture as well. Sometimes I think it's a historic thing that we can be a little bit shy about that. There's no shame in that whatsoever. Right, okay, so the YouTube channel is called Something to Remember. Type in Something to Remember on YouTube and it'll pop up. So the new video, talk to us about that. Is that live now, or is it being launched, or what's the story?
Yeah, we put it up last week on Rally Weekend. It's done all right so far. Yeah. It's got lots of hikes and hill walks and cliff walks and some, you know, ancient places. And the top 5 mightn't be as you would expect. Like, we actually made another video about Donegal a couple of years ago when we were less experienced. It was a top 7 video. You know, you had your normal Mount Errigal and Slieve League. To be honest, now looking back, we're a wee bit shy in that video. So we wanted to make a better.
Use it developing as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And although that video did well a couple of years ago, it doesn't really represent us now. Like, we really wanted to make a proper video where we were, you know, talking on the camera and really giving people good information about the nooks and crannies of Donegal, instead of just saying, climb Mount Errigal, go to Slieve League, go to Glenveagh Castle. Yeah. This one has a lot of information in it that we really think that can be useful to people.
And also just for those who are not travelling abroad and want to stay in Ireland, there's videos too on, you know, Sligo, Mayo, travelling on a tighter budget, getting to see as much as Ireland as you can in a relatively short period of time. So there's a lot of sort of staycation videos there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate that word, but that's holidaying within Ireland videos.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah. I would definitely recommend it. Like, as I say, the past couple of years, I've brought Asia back for the last couple of summers, and our focus really has been seeing more of Ireland, and that's been great for me as well, because I think everybody could be guilty of admitting that you haven't seen as much of Ireland as possible. A lot of people, when they're working full-time schedules, when they get a week off in the summer, they head to Spain or Portugal or Italy or Turkey and kind of abandon the beauty on your doorstep, which I suppose is a bit cliche, but it's really true.
Well, I've never really gone abroad I haven't gone abroad in ages, but when I was travelling more regularly, June, July, August, the idea of going, and this is not jealousy or anything, but the idea of going and baking for a week, you know what I mean? I prefer maybe to sort of go out there when it's cheaper in September or something like that there. This is the place to be. Obviously, it'd be better if the weather played ball, but, you know, where else would be better to holiday? It's the cost, I think, puts people off, because the argument then comes that, oh, well, you can go to all-inclusive to Lanzarote for 900 quid and you can't get 2 rooms in Dublin. But there's lots more outside of Dublin to do here. There's good value to be had too.
Definitely. And it's... If people want to choose to go and lie in the sun for a week, that's their prerogative.
No, I'm not judging them. It's just never been my thing.
Definitely, but from our perspective, like our idea of a holiday now would be going out and doing stuff, finding the hikes and, you know, the mountains, and really exploring a culture and trying the local food and going, you know, off the beaten path, which in our YouTube channel, we really kind of focus on more off the beaten path things. Instead of just, you know, your normal run-of-the-mill touristy destinations, we like getting a bit more off the beaten path, so that's actually an important feature of our YouTube.
All right,
YouTube
good stuff.
So,
there's a bit of humour in there as well.
Definitely,
need be. Go on to YouTube, search Something to Remember Ireland. You'll see the picture there of Mark and Ashia, and you can go through all the videos there as well. Okay, brilliant stuff. Mark, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think that's us. Just something to remember, and I think Madonna had a song called Something to Remember, so if you type that in and Madonna pops up, that's obviously not us. So you might put in Ireland after and you'll see our 2 mugs pop up. Yeah, so
all the hits that you're giving Madonna, it's not really fair.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly,
and as well as that too, it's always good to share these videos out and about, because that's a great way of inviting more people into our area, and the more people that come in, it supports the economy and what have you, so it ends up supporting us all. So don't be afraid to give these videos firstly a subscribe, a like, but also share them out as well. All right, Mark, listen, thanks very much for your time. I appreciate you calling in on your day off.
Yeah, thanks.
Been great stuff.
All
right, cheers,
Greg,
Mark.
cheers.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 Til Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Be a winner and view the trophy collection at Brian McCormick Sports. Full colour awards, glass and crystal, perpetual cups and shields, sports awards, metal cups and medals. Whatever the occasion, click bmcsports.ie. Budget medals for sports days with personalised inserts to promote your club and school. Full engraving service available at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
New this week in Home Store and More. All summer duvets are all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all these half price summer duvets are gone, they're gone. Also, all camping and all indoor clothes areas are still all half price. But when all the half price camping and all the half price indoor clothes areas are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Join us at the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 4th to the 15th of July. Enjoy live music from the Tumbling Paddies, Robert Mazzell, Jimmy Buckley and more. Don't miss out on family fun and exciting events like the Soapbox Derby, kayak fun and a spectacular fireworks display. See Lennon Festival on Facebook for a full list of events.
Thinking about upskilling, a career change or returning to work? Springboard Plus and HCI Pillar 1 provide hundreds of flexible, free and subsidised higher education courses across Ireland. Learn skills that work for you. Visit springboardcourses.ie. Springboard Plus and HCI Pillar 1 are co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
Donegal's premier summer event, Errigal Arts Festival, brings you fantastic events for all ages and backgrounds this July 13th to 28th. Enjoy award-winning music, theatre, circus, visual and street arts from the offshore islands and West Donegal Gaeltacht to the lowlands of East Donegal and the shores of the Inishowen Peninsula. Visit eaf.ie for full details on the Errigal Arts Festival, proudly supported by Donegal County Council.
Right, so as we read in the newspapers a little earlier on, waste collection companies have warned they may increase prices for recycling bin collection to make up for the loss of plastic bottles and drink cans to the deposit return scheme. The journalist behind that article is environment correspondent with the Irish Independent, Caroline O'Doherty. And Caroline is with me now. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning.
Great to have you on. Right, okay, so talk to us about the background to this story then.
Okay, well, we call it the green bin. I know in some parts of the country it's a blue bin, but most households have a recycling bin. We'll call it the green bin for handiness. And that is collected by private commercial waste companies. And they're saying that since the deposit return scheme came in, there are less bottles and cans in the average green bin. Okay, from a customer's point of view, they will say, well, that's good, isn't it? Because we're doing what we've been told to do. We're bringing back to reverse vending machines and so on. The waste companies are saying, though, that within your green bin, there is paper, which is really low quality when it's recycled. So when they try to sort out all the stuff that's in your green bin and take out all the paper and sell it on to paper companies, they get very little for that. Other sorts of plastics of different values. What is valuable to them is your plastic drinks bottle, which is generally made of PET plastic, a good quality plastic. They say you can melt that down and reform a bottle about 6 times. So it's valuable. They can batch it up, sell it on to the manufacturing industry. The aluminium cans even more so, because they can be melted down and reformed into cans like indefinitely. So they're saying they're losing out. There's less in the bin. There's less of the bottles and cans in the bins that they collect. They've less to sell on to manufacturers. They're making less money. And they're telling government, and they're in talks behind the scenes about this, that they either want a subsidy or they want some sort of arrangement made whereby those losses are made up to them, or else they're going to have to turn to the householder and put up the charge for collecting the green bins.
I'd love to see the gap, if there is any, between the amount of bottles and cans that are recycled now versus the loss out of the recycling bin. You know what I mean? Because then we'd sort of find out how many people who were ordinarily just dumping them in the black bin or wherever are now taking the time to go and recycle them. But we can understand where they're coming from. And it's kind of really unfair on those that have been really good recyclers, isn't it? Because they were already being, very, very careful in recycling their stuff. Now they're being asked to sort of get their deposit back. They have to drive to a shop potentially and recycle it there. And now they could be hit with increased charges for recycling. They're going to feel, that's a cohort of people are going to feel very peeved, I would say.
Yeah, because at the very start of this, when the deposit return scheme was being introduced, there was actually some hope, particularly among those who follow consumer developments, that there might actually be a reduction in the cost of the green bin. And for some customers, that might have happened. If you're the kind of customer on a kind of contract where you're paying per lift or per weight, and if you're putting out your green bin now less often, obviously you're paying less. A lot of people and a lot of companies use this fixed fee, a fixed annual fee. So it doesn't matter how little or often you put out your green bin. So you're not going to benefit by putting it out less frequently or putting less into it. But there was this kind of talk at the start, well, if we're putting it out less often and it doesn't weigh as much, might we be in for a reduction in the cost? And, turns out the reverse is on the mind of the waste companies, that they're actually going to maybe increase the prices to us.
And they're saying, well, why should we bundle all the tat for little money and others make the money off the good stuff? And I suppose, too, you've got us kind of early in this story because, as you say, the back channeling is happening now, and presumably the companies have put it on the table saying, look, unless you, as you quite well outlined earlier on, unless you help us here, this is going to end up on the consumer.
Yeah, these discussions are ongoing, and they're a bit tense. I understand. Right at the start of this process, when the deposit return scheme was still being formulated, the government put out a proposal to public consultation. This is how we think it will operate. Now, when these public consultations happen, most of the public pay no attention, but certainly waste companies who have a vested interest in it did pay attention. And they were fairly happy with the idea, because there seemed to be a clause in there that was suggested that any bottles and cans that were left in the green bin, that A, they would be able to keep selling that as a recyclable material, but B, that they would be able to claim back the deposit on it. So as a householder, I haven't bothered bringing it back to get my deposit back, but maybe the waste companies could. That was in the early draft of this whole arrangement. When the scheme was introduced formally, that wasn't there. So we're not quite sure what happened, why that was maybe shot down or omitted, but that certainly is a bone of contention between the waste companies now. Maybe if that was reintroduced, it might appease them, but they are saying they want the loss made up. The Department of the Environment, speaking on behalf of the government, is saying, we don't know what that loss is, the question that you asked earlier, and we want to get some research done on that first before we concede that there is a major issue for the waste companies. The waste companies have put a value on. They say they'll be losing at least 5 million a year. They are big companies, so maybe that's not a huge amount, but it's still 5 million they're not willing to lose without being compensated by us or the state.
Yeah, plus they might argue
via our taxes.
They might argue, look, you wanted to see a certain level of recycling, and without us you couldn't have achieved that, and now you've taken off one of the better revenue streams for us. So I think they've a decent argument there. It'll all work out, I'm sure. Caroline O'Doherty, thank you so very much for your time today. Take care. Caroline is an environment correspondent with the Irish Independent. I saw her in Dublin on the last time we were down last weekend, and I hadn't seen it before, and I couldn't have seen it before because there was nothing to it. But it was really sad. I think it's sad. It is sad. But sorry, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but what you're seeing now is... what I did see is, I don't want to categorize someone as homeless, if you know what I mean, because they may not be, but they appeared to be down on the luck, however you might phrase it, without offending anyone in this day and age. But I think you know what I'm saying. And they were bin diving for the plastic bottles. There was two older ladies. They were quite, thin, emaciated. One of them was, to be honest with you. I did feel sorry for them. But they were literally squeezing in. Do you know that tiny little narrow gap in the bin? Squeezing in through that as much as they could to retrieve plastic bottles and cans so that they could presumably go and recycle them and gather whatever money there might be in it. And we haven't had that scheme in for long, but that is a phenomenon. Bin diving for plastic bottles and cans. I mean, if that's how they're going to get... If that helps them, there has to be a better way of doing that, doesn't it? So that people don't have to put their hands into, and they didn't have gloves on, that have to put their hands in all that crap that would be in that bin to retrieve the plastic bottles and cans. There has to be a better way, but I think it's a really poor reflection in society that people could end up being so desperate on a very busy main street to be rooting around in bins and retrieving plastic bottles and cans. A caller says, why was the national anthem not played at the start of the game yesterday? I kind of got the impression that was a technical fault. It was played ahead of the second game, and it was obviously on the running. It was obviously on the run list for the commentators because they referenced that. So I don't know what happened. I would say it was probably a technical issue. No one was singing it. It was being piped out the speakers. If I were to guess, I would say someone's laptop wasn't fired up or something and they simply weren't able to play it out. As I say, that would just be my guess, and that is all we're talking about. Okay, we're going to be talking about blood donation, and it's a hot topic at the moment because the Blood Transfusion Board are very actively seeking people to become donors, or if they are donors, to donate, particularly before they go on holiday. There are short supplies and they need as much as they can. But it's not always as easy as you might want to give blood, and we'll have more on that after these messages.
The 9 Til Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Looking for that delicious home-cooked taste without the hassle? With lots of amazing new recipes, the Meals to Go range at Dunnes Stores is the perfect solution for busy days. Choose from a wide range of meals, from our Cajun pulled beef and rice bowl to our sweet mango chicken, our rich mac and cheese, and many more. Made with care using quality ingredients, you can now get 2 meals for just €8.50. Discover new Meals to Go in-store and online today. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7, where you can enjoy dinner and drinks in a Woodbury Grill, Bar and Restaurant before bowling in Arena 7's state-of-the-art lanes. See arena7.ie.
When I got my leaving cert results, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? Like, I was a little bit stuck for a while. I didn't really know what path I was going to go down. I'm so glad I did the PLC instead of going into a course that I wasn't 100% sure on, and I really enjoyed it. I'm literally recommending it to all my friends now.
Choose the path that's right for you. Choose further education and training.
Learn more at thisisfet.ie.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Buncrana should attend the clinic in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Monday 1st and Tuesday 2nd of July, and donors from Carndonagh should attend the clinic in the Carndonagh Community School on Wednesday 3rd and Thursday 4th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Okay, so if you are sort of really concerned about whether the weather's going to be good or not, I'm not going to be fit to give you any good news this week or into the weekend, I'm afraid. Today, patchy mist and fog clearing eastwards this afternoon with a mix of cloud and bright sunny intervals. Temperatures 14 to 17 degrees. And as I say, on Wednesday and Thursday, the winds are getting up again, which you just normally don't see at this time of year. And unseasonably chilly as well. And on top of that, is it just me, or are the nights drawing in a little bit? It does feel like that. Right, Connell's with me now. Hi, Connell.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to speak
to you.
Yeah,
blood donations. Really blood donations. I mean, maybe I'm missing out on something vital here, but I've given between 60 and 70 blood donations one way or the other over the last, since I was 18, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I reached 70 then, you had to go to the doctor and get a note saying that you were eligible, you know, from a health perspective. But I think, I mean, you know, if you're well and you're 70, I mean, you know, I think if you're going there every 6 months and giving blood and you're in good health, I mean, I know you can't give it after 80, but I'm not saying anything wrong with that at all. But if you're in good health when you're 70, and I particularly mean, my blood group is ORH negative. It's a universal donor, and I would get texts back to say that my blood was given to such a person, you know, in such a hospital and all that. And I mean, you know, having to go to the doctor and get letters and that when you're well and you're fit and as good as you are, you know, and I think it's a bit restrictive, you know.
It's a barrier, Connell, a barrier that arguably shouldn't exist. You know, I mean,
well, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason for that. I'm not a medical person. Maybe there's a reason for that. I'm not seeing. You know, but when you have been when you have given it since you were 18, and you get that, and you just say now you have to go to the doctor to get a letter. But if you're going there every 6 months and the test the sample of your blood anyway, and if you're well, I mean, you'll soon know yourself if you're not well and you're not fit to give it, you know.
It says here, if you are 65 to 69 and you've donated in the past year, you can give blood. If you're 70 years or over, you must have donated in the past 2 years, so actually you couldn't become a donor after 70. And you must obtain, as you mentioned, an annual medical cert of fitness from your GP, which is... And during COVID-19, over 70s were unable to give blood, which I actually didn't know that, which is quite
well, I don't know, but I mean,
anyway.
So far I'm in good health, and I would like to have given it, you know, because it's a good space. If you're living between 70 and 80, you can give it up to 80, but you know, it's kind of putting people in boxes about their health, you know. It's kind of age, you know, that you could be 70 and you could be in very good form, you know, and you would like to do it.
In Britain, so if you went up to Britain and Northern Ireland, if you went up to Derry, you can give blood over the age of 70 as long as you remain in good health and you've made at least one full donation in the last 2 years. So no certs required in Britain and Northern Ireland for some reason.
No, and as I say, you would like to give it because there's one thing that you can do, and you know, it's one of the things that you can do in life maybe that benefits somebody else greatly, you know. And it doesn't do you any harm either. I think it only sharpens you up. Maybe you have good appetite for a while after and building up your blood again, and you're eating a bit of good food, and you eat good food before you go on to give the blood, so your strength is good, you know.
Yeah, of course. And as I say, as you say, 65 blood donations. That's remarkable, Connell, and well done to you. I mean,
well, I gave my first when I was 18, you know.
Yeah, but that's an awful... So it's pretty much you're going at it once a year, bar the shouting. But that's helped an awful lot of people down the line, Connell. It's remarkable. Well done to you. And I hope that doesn't come across as patronising. I think it's a fantastic
I know, it's all right,
thing to achieve. But then now all of a sudden you need a medical from your GP to give blood, and you such a loyal donor, it kind of is a little bit of a barrier, or some might even see that actually it's a bit of a slap in the face. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, when you're in good, if you feel you're in good health anyway, and you're doing all the normal things, you know that, like, I mean, you know, you might get another 5 years given it, sort of, you know. But like, it's people have enough to do, and doctors have enough to do without going and getting a medical check done that seeking you give blood. Because as I say, when you go give blood, they're taking a small sample out of your finger anyway, and they're testing it anyway to see how you are, see if you're iron, and see you anemic or whatever you're, you know. And if you're going there every year, sure.
And as I say, it doesn't appear to be the rule in Britain at all. So I don't know why we're different here.
But as I said, the reason I rang was because when they're so scarce of it, and particularly the blood group that I have, Rh negative, when they're so scarce of it, you would like that it would be made easier for you, you know.
For sure. Okay, well, listen, just to help out as well, I'm going to read out where people can give donations, blood donations in Donegal this week. Thanks, Connell. Take care of yourself.
Greg, thanks for taking the call.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do as well. It is actually quite remarkable. Over 65 donations, and now because he's over 70, you have to get an annual medical, but I don't think that's the case in Britain. I can't see anyway on the Give Blood website there. Something we'll pursue a little bit. So in Buncrana, there is a shortage of blood. If you do give blood or can give blood, Buncrana, Inishowen Gateway Hotel, today between 6:30 and 20 to 10. Tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 to 5:10, and from 7 to 9:40 in the evening. In Carndonagh on Wednesday, the community school in Carndonagh, 2:30 to 5:10 on Wednesday, and also in the evening, 7 p.m. till 20 to 10. And on Thursday, 2:30 to 20 to 7. Please call 1-800-731-137 for more information. And before you turn up or contact them, no harm in checking giveblood.ie, because there's a questionnaire there that should make it clear to you whether or not you can donate. There's a lorry off the road between Ballyholy and Galdonna Junction. Traffic delays. Approach that area with caution. No reports of any injuries. They only play the national anthem once on match days, so it's played before the second game. Really? Because the commentators were waiting for it. I don't get that. Okay, but listen, I'm learning today. Every day's a learning day, but apparently they only play it before one of the games. Surely play it before the first one, and then it covers the both, no? I am on Solpadol tablets. Is it okay for me to donate blood? Unfortunately, we don't just have a blood expert on at the moment to answer that. Hi, regarding the deposit return scheme, it really annoys me. Shops, cafes, takeaways charging you 15 or 25 cents on the cans and bottles. It cannot be deposited in the machine as they do not have the R sign, only for recycling. This is happening quite a lot. Wonder why it's being let happen. Interesting. So maybe, shall we say, they're sourcing these bottles from elsewhere but still have the charge. How can you be sure, though, the deposit is on these bottles or cans? Some might come in from Northern Ireland which wouldn't have it, but I wonder how one could be sure if that's just not the price they're charging, or there is an additional 15 or 25 cent deposit. We were chatting to a lady earlier on who was out on her hollybobs and went to hire a car but couldn't hire a car because her license was out of date. And ironically, she'd been in holidays since the license was out of date and had no issues that time. It was an oversight. But this caller says, Greg, my license is out in August and I got a reminder 2 weeks ago. Okay, so reminders are sent out. Does anyone know if the tickets for Donegal in the semi-finals is through clubs or Ticketmaster? Ticketmaster is a much fairer system, whereas through clubs, they tend to go to who you know. Yeah, well, there's a bit of that. I don't know the answer to that question. I would say maybe it hasn't been fully decided yet. Who is to say? That's where we have to leave it on today's 9 Till Noon show. Stay tuned. John Breslin, if you're listening live, is coming up around the Northwest after the news at 12. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. For me, Greg Hughes, and the team.